Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first round of the 2004 AI Formula One Challenge season. I am your commentator, Jaden Harrison, and I am joined by the one and only Benjamin Wald.
Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah.
Peak commentary. Anyway, we're here for 58 laps of the 2004 Australian Grand Prix at the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne. We've also got qualifying to do first. It's an hour-long qualifying where 30 cars will compete for 26 spots for the starting grid. But before we get into that, let's look at the driver lineups for this race weekend. Going into his championship defense campaign, Ralf Schumacher makes the move from Ferrari to Honda. He is joined by Takuma Sato at the team, who remains following Heinz-Harald Frenzen's retirement from the sport. Jarno Trulli will be hoping to not make it 3 times in a row to be the bridesmaid in the championship after coming up runner-up in 2002 and 2003. He is joined by Rubens Barrichello at Ferrari, who moves from Renault. Michael Schumacher will be hoping to get back on top once again following a championship campaign in which he just missed out, taking his fight to the final race of the season, but eventually missing out to his brother in the Ferrari. He's joined once again by Kimi Räikkönen for the second consecutive year. Then we've got the 2001 world champion Alexander Wurz in the Williams alongside Juan Pablo Montoya. This pairing remains the same for the 4th consecutive season. At Renault, a very strong pre-season test sees them as possible favourites for the Constructors' Championship, with young guns Fernando Alonso and Giorgio Pantano at the helm. A team that did not have a good pre-season testing whatsoever is Jaguar, the new CR6 engine proving to be not that competitive compared to the up-to-date engines of Ferrari, BMW and Mercedes. Jenson Button remains at the team following Giorgio Pantano's departure, and Cristiano De Mata takes his place. David Coulthard and Dan Wheldon surprisingly makes it an all-British lineup at Lucky Strike BAR Audi, the two forces of British American racing and Audi merging for the first time in their history, as Lamborghini move to another team. They'll be hoping that David Coulthard can lead the way, but Dan Wheldon can at least stay within touching distance of his world champion teammate. Toyota go for an interesting lineup, with Giancarlo Fisichella injured following his crash in the 2003 Japanese Grand Prix. They have fetched in Jacques Villeneuve, who has not been in the sport since midway through 1999 with Williams. They also fetch on board Riccardo Sperafico, a driver who was at Prost last season for a couple of races before the team went bust. This would be one of the most interesting pairings to see on the grid, as Sperafico isn't really well versed with the world of Formula One, and obviously Jacques Villeneuve been out for over 4 years at this point, so I guess we'll see how they will perform. Nicolas Minassian and Ralph Furman stay at Dams Lola Panos, as Panos now merge with the Dams Lola team to make quite an alliance in car manufacturers, now 3 overall, trying to push them up the order. Midfield status they were in 2003, and they'll be hoping to push for possible podiums in this season. Red Bull buy out a 75% stake of Sauber going into 2004, thus naming it the Red Bull Sauber Lamborghini, as they also fetch the Lamborghini powertrains that powered BAR from 2000. They retain Felipe Massa but fetch Mark Webber along from Minardi. The AT&T Rose Motorsport Toyota, the Toyota junior team essentially, go for a new driver replacing Teranosuke Takagi. They fetch on Justin Wilson alongside the returning Benoit Trellier. Opel fetch Timo Glock from their reserve role halfway through the season in 2003 following Jörg Müller and his poor results. He retains his seat Glock alongside the returning Pedro de la Rosa. Nick Heidfeld and Antonio Pizzonia make an interesting lineup at Camel Brabham Mercedes, with Nick Heidfeld there on loan from McLaren, with the Mercedes engine being part of that deal. Antonio Pizzonia brings a wealth of experience in the midfield, being previously test drivers for Benetton, as well as being at Toyota in 2003. Thiago Montero and Jolt Baumgartner make not for a brilliant sighting in their pre-season test down at Minardi, with the CR4B Cosworth engine being heavily underpowered, and it's not looking like a good season for Minardi as they continue to struggle with financial problems. And finally, it's Boots and Energy Racing, powered by the Asia Tech. Shinji Nakano remains at the team, surprisingly, with Bas Linders getting dropped to the end of 2003, with Patrick Friesacker alongside him at the team. And that's all for the teams and drivers. Benjamin, what do you think about the prospects of some teams? Obviously, we've seen quite a shake-up in pre-season testing to the usual form, with Renault and Ferrari often being those at the top.
Well, it will certainly be interesting to see, now with all of the testing being done, who will actually conquer this season. My bets are probably on Ferrari and Renault being at the top for the 2004 season, with McLaren lacking behind. We can only hope that the the McLaren team will certainly update their car throughout the season to keep up with the front.
And if you want to,
other than that, I can only see Minardi probably dropping off mid-season, seeing how bad they were in preseason testing. We can only hope that they will stay on or find a backing somehow, that they don't end like Prost was last season.
So yeah, if you want to look up more information about this series, be sure to check out the Discord link in the server. Welcome in, everybody, by the way. 28 of you here already, goddamn. Thanks for tuning in already. Welcome in, Satent, Racing at Home, Sene, Flavio Briatore. Good to see you here, mate. Hopefully your car does well this season. KMHD, Chris. We've got Arun, as well as Jack and Jeffrey. We got Nils as well as a couple others. Welcome in, everybody. But without further ado, let's hop straight into the qualifying session, the opening round. So like I say, it's an hour-long session to kick us off for the Australian Grand Prix. Conditions are slightly damp out there, as we saw. Actually, I was supposed to show this already. The practice times actually saw the Renaults as a 1-2 at the front of the order, quite considerably far ahead of Michael Schumacher in third and Rubens Barrichello in fourth. Toyota also showing good pace. The Dams Lola Panels team seems to be sort of matching the pace of that of Honda and maybe even Williams going into this season. Meanwhile, BAR, despite their strong pre-season form, seem to have fallen back a little bit, with Weldon down in 17th and Coulthard in 22nd. However, it was a wet to dry session, so a lot of the order is bound to be shaken up quite considerably, as we saw the two Minardis at the back, as we so often saw in pre-season testing. Now, let's get into the qualifying session. So what's your prediction for pole position? As we see, the first driver out on circuit this season is the Damslo Lepanos driver of Nicholas Manassian.
Well, Harrison, I'm expecting the session to turn dry within the next 20 to 30 minutes. It could be anyone's guess who will take pole for the first round. My guess, might be a surprise McLaren pole by five-time champion Michael Schumacher, but it could also just go either way for the Renaults or the Ferraris.
My prediction for pole position, I would say could be Jarno Trulli. He's a man who is quite often strong in interchangeable conditions. As we see here, there's a bit of spray being kicked up by the cars out on circuit, but not too much to discern them from the soft compound tyres, as I imagine it will be dry, probably, as Benjamin said, within about 20 to 30 minutes completely. We've got some custom liveries on the grid, including the Dam's Lola panels, which is actually made by Satent in the chat, as well as several people also in the chat have run teams in this server and this series. We've got the Rose Toyota, which saw their pre-season testing livery. They tried to cover up everything about their car, so maybe they're trying to keep everything hidden because they think they've got a strong package going into this season. Maybe, who knows. Now with Benoit Trellier and Justin Wilson, Teranosuke Takagi was dropped at the end of last season. They'll be hoping to possibly push 4 points on a more regular basis after only scoring single points paying position, 5th place at last season's crazy San Marino Grand Prix, which only saw 6 cars actually finish and be classified. Another new team on the grid for this season is Opel. They also joined, just like Rose Toyota, in 2003. They saw minor success as Rose did in their team. Opel scored only 1 points position, again in the San Marino Grand Prix. A 6th place courtesy of Pedro de la Rosa, as Nicolas Manassian setting the fastest sector so far in that first part of the lap, as Giorgio Pantano with a problem on his car already. Oh, and that's an engine failure for Giorgio Pantano. We'll get a replay of that.
That's the engine gone. Yeah.
It most certainly is. Worrying signs at Renault already, with one of the favourites from pre-season testing and practice already running into problems, not even 3 minutes into the session. And we see a Renault engine expiry.
Renault engines always had the unfair stereotype of being unreliable, but maybe for this season, this stereotype will once again be proven correct.
Giorgio Pantano will be massively disappointed with that. He'll have to get back to the pits in the spare car, and it's a massive shame for the Renault team. Giorgio Pantano also suffered he suffered a mechanical failure in pre-season testing, as he had a gearbox failure, and Fernando Alonso also had a suspension failure. So even though the Renaults look fast, they could be unreliable, which could mean that they could be quickly caught by the chasing pack, as we now see Nicolas Manassian rounding the final corner for the final time to set our first lap of the season. It's a 1 minute 30.362, a decent banker for the Frenchman, as his countryman Benoit Trellier, actually purple in the second sector, rounding the final corner for the Toyota powered machine and up towards the line. It's a 131.5, not a great last sector there at all from Benoit Trellier, puts him just over a second behind his countryman. Timo Glock will be next across the line in the Opel. They were looking fairly strong in pre-season testing, and especially in practice, with Timo Glock all the way up in 13th place in the 1 hour session, despite his teammate being down in 25th position. Timo Glock purple in the second sector, but almost a second away from the top time there. Jenson Button is a driver who desperately needs a consistent season. After scoring his first win of the season, he did very little to prove he really should be at a top team. But now, with Giorgio Pantano gone, he now moves up to lead driver. But the unfortunate case for Jaguar is that a very poor winter has seen them massively drop back, according to the preseason and practice sessions that we've seen so far.
Although I wouldn't take the practice times too much, too granted as they are. It was a red session. It currently is into slight intermediate conditions, but I don't think the Opel outside of the straights really has an advantage over the other newly acquired new teams that came in last season. Rumors had that the Opel engine is one of the more powerful ones, as Opel has had a problem with the Cosworth last season. But the aerodynamics might fall short in that regard.
David Coulthard joined BAR in 2002 and got off to quite a rocky start. No podiums in that opening season despite winning the championship just 2 seasons prior. He did score his first podium with the team in the latter stages of last season, the 2003 Italian Grand Prix, where he claimed a brilliant second place in what was BAR and Lamborghini's last podium as a collaboration. Now BAR have moved on to Audi, as we see Massa actually quite a way off pole position, almost 7/10 away, as we now see David Coulthard up towards the line. A brilliant lap sees him over a second and a half faster than the rest of the field, a 28.5 for the Scotsman. Jacques Villeneuve is another driver who was not expecting to be in the sport in 2004, obviously being out of it since 1999, where the last race he competed in was his home race in Canada. He goes almost 2 seconds slower than David Coulthard, possibly a banker lap from Toyota, or maybe it could be a case of they have been massively pushing their car to its absolute limits, despite others teams doing long runs in practice and especially in pre-season testing. We saw that Jacques Villeneuve was 5th, 23rd and 5th in the 3 days of pre-season testing. As now we see reigning champion Ralf Schumacher in the Honda. Up towards the line, he moves up to the front row.
I'm still not completely understanding why Ralf Schumacher thought it was necessary for him to switch to from Ferrari to Honda just after one season with the team. It might have been down to bad management, or the climate that Ferrari works under was not something that he was looking forward to. Why to Honda though? It might just be a money reason.
Or it could possibly be, despite him being on a supposedly very high wage of an estimated 12.5 million euros before bonuses, he could be trying to build up this team to a front-running established or part of the established order. As Honda, since joining in 2000, they've been fairly mediocre in their results, despite getting a race win in their first season. It was a bit of a fluke, courtesy of Mika Salo. He'll be hoping to possibly try and push this team beyond its limits. With his world champion experience now behind the wheel, he'll be hoping to try and help Honda basically at least beat Toyota, especially since Toyota came in 2002. They've pretty much had the measure over their Japanese rivals. Where is Pitsonia? There we go. That's not Pitsonia, that's Pitsonia. Across the line for Antonio Pitsonia, 9th place so far for him. Audi do not have a share in the team, although they have merged with BAR. They're they've kind of got their own, basically, like engine thing going on. Basically how Toyota have their car developed in Germany, and then there's another division in Japan. It's basically where BAR developed their car and the aerodynamics in Great Britain, and the engine is developed in Germany, I believe. Yeah.
Now, Jaden, what do you think? Which of the newly entered teams from 2003 will do the best in their second season?
The highest promise for... Sorry, I was just eating. A new team is, I would say, possibly Opel, as the Cosworth engine that they previously had last season has now been especially known for being quite underpowered in 2004. So maybe that was a thing that was possibly holding them back last season, but they've now developed their own engine, and it seems to be quite decent. They've been quite high up on the speed traps, and as such, if they score a couple of points early on in the season and trying to build momentum, they could possibly challenge in the midfield. But who knows?
It was quite surprising to see that Pedro de la Rosa managed to qualify that 2003 Opel around the power track like Austria. Even though he did not finish the race, it was still interesting to see what this man still can do.
Most certainly. Despite joining only a couple of seasons ago, Pedro de la Rosa has a wealth of experience beyond his years, now in his mid-30s, and he'll be hoping to put that to good use to develop the car well at Opel, as we now see Barrichello, a 29.3 in the first sector and a 23.8 in the second sector, is just under 2/10 up on David Coulthard's provisional pole time. This could be a good lap here from the Brazilian on his debut for Ferrari. He's a driver who's often seen himself as one of the very best, trying to push himself towards that championship, but in the past couple of seasons, especially since 1999, he has really struggled in that regard. With Jaguar in 2000 and 2001, he was kind of beaten quite easily by his teammate Eddie Irvine, and then moved to Renault for 2002 and was beaten quite considerably by Fernando Alonso for the previous 2 seasons. Saying that, he's gone to pole position by a quarter of a second. Michael Schumacher out on circuit, but is 2/10 down through the first sector. Push himself further up the order, at least ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Cannot do so though, improves by about 4/10 of a second and remains in 5th place. Quite disappointing for him, as especially Jaguar were in that battle for 3rd place in the Constructors. Michael Schumacher goes 3rd place in his McLaren. Not a brilliant lap from the 5-time world champion, as he sees himself over half a second away from the pole time currently set by Rubens Barrichello. I've got it on top chat right now. I could do with it on live chat. There we go. And as we can see, the continuation of Minardi's lack of pace is really starting to hurt them in this qualifying session. Scholt Baumgartner 6 seconds down through the first 2 sectors. Not what he wants to be seeing whatsoever, and not what Minardi wants to be seeing. As it currently stands, with Minardi's struggling budget, they're going to really struggle to upgrade this car effectively to the point where they can qualify for races on a regular basis. Of course, the 4 slowest qualifiers in this session will be knocked out, and we have 26 cars starting the race. Up towards the line for Baumgartner, 9.8 seconds off the pace is quite disappointing for the Hungarian. The first Hungarian in Formula 1, as Wirtz moves up to 7th in his Williams, but marginally also improves to
with such
6th.
a tiny budget. You could probably guess how much of their budget could fit into just one Ralf Schumacher Honda contract.
Most certainly.
It's ridiculous on how it's ridiculous that such a beloved team, even with sponsor budget, can't even develop a car that is able to qualify in this day and age.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a great help either, with 2 brand new rookies to the sport in Scholt Baumgartner and Thiago Monteiro at the team, with problems arising that obviously with a lack of experience comes a lack of awareness in a Formula 1 car, especially so in pre-season testing and practice. Apologies. They were involved in quite a number of incidents, which obviously is going to rack up that damage bill quite considerably, which is obviously not what they want to see. Fortunately for Timo Glock, the two ahead of him have just peeled into the pits in time. The German currently 12th on the grid. He moves up to 7th place, a good lap there to move himself ahead of the 2001 World Champion in the Williams. Speaking of World Champions, Jacques Villeneuve re-enters the track. Currently down in 9th place, but he'll be hoping, 10th place I should say, as Ralph Furman beats him to the punch in that regard. Villeneuve, a driver who is often seen as quite a polarising figure in the paddock. He'll be hoping to prove those critics wrong, and especially at Toyota, if he does a good enough job, then there are rumours that he will keep the seat alongside Giancarlo Fisichella when he returns. It is unsure when Fisichella will return from his injury, but it's expected to be at least the first couple of races.
For Minardi, the last time we had such a bad qualifying session up to now for them, it could only be compared to 1997's Lola outing in Australia, where Lola managed to qualify not even within 10 seconds of pole, or 9 seconds if you take the pole time by Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who was 1.7 seconds behind his teammate Jacques Villeneuve.
Most definitely.
This is certainly absurd. We can only hope that the Faenza-based team somehow finds the pace over the next few races.
Benoit Trellier with a great lap there on his second run, but quickly dispatched by Antonio Pizzonia in 7th position. The Brabham car looking very good on these Australian streets, as there's a slow-moving Red Bull. Who is that? I think that has to be Mark Webber? I think it is Mark Webber. And he's going quite slowly there. Has he got a gearbox failure, possibly?
Yeah, he seems
on
to be
Red Bull
stuck in
Sauber?
first gear.
And this is a big shame for the Australian, obviously at his home Grand Prix.
Luckily for him, there's still 40 minutes remaining in the session. He could just go back to the pits, switch out the gearbox, and then go out again for another lap.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a big problem for them, especially since there's over 40 minutes remaining. As Tiago Monteiro really not getting that car up to the speed that they hope to have. Kimi Raikkonen, though, on a purple first sector in that McLaren. He's going to get held up a little bit, though, by Mark Webber, unfortunately for the Finn. We'll see how his second sector split fares. He's 6/10 down through the second sector, so that definitely held him up. And as such, I think it's going to be a fairly rubbished lap for Kimi Raikkonen. Jacques Villeneuve up to 4th place in the Toyota, just mere thousandths behind Michael Schumacher's McLaren. He's really putting that Toyota through its paces, especially when it seems to have moved up the order quite considerably. Raikkonen rounding the final corner for the final time. We'll see if he can possibly try and grab a purple final sector as he moves up to 3rd. Despite being held up, he moves ahead of his McLaren teammate Michael Schumacher. That's very surprising there from the Finn, and he does in fact go faster than Barrichello in that final sector as well. So definite improvement to be found from the one-time race winner, winning out on his first race in the Chinese Grand Prix at Zhuhai in 2003, just mere races ago. As Heidfeld improves, but only to 15th place. He's about a second away from his teammate Antonio Pizzonia. He'll be hoping to find maybe a setup change to try and gel with that car a little bit better.
Well, I'm most certainly surprised by Villeneuve's pace. You could have thought that being 4 years out of the sport, he would lose some, speed. But it seems that, whatever he's done over the past few years and his winter testing certainly have not slowed him down. The possibility is that Toyota's massive or seeming bottomless budget has actually helped them to find the pace they need. And maybe fight for podiums, if not even more.
Well, Toyota got their best result of their careers so far at... apologies, we've got Rubens Barrichello in trouble. He's pulling off to the side of the road on the exit of turn 2. What has happened to the Brazilian?
He was just coming out of the pits, and as soon as he came out, he came in again.
A lot of mechanical failures so far in this qualifying session. 3 in total. And it's going to leave us with quite an interesting reading. Oh, that's a brake failure out the pits for Rubens Barrichello. Very fortunate to keep that on the straight and narrow and not damage any part of the car. He pulls off to the side of the road.
Yeah, he managed that masterfully.
He pulls off to the side of the road and returns to the pit lane. But that is massive worries for those up and down the field. Renault and Ferrari both suffering mechanical problems. The two championship contenders we expect to see in the Constructors' Championship.
Well, if the fastest cars are also more unreliable than the ones behind them, this could certainly shake up the standings in the long run.
Definitely so, especially with the new engine regulation that we've got into this season. I forgot to mention this. Formula 1 has increased the size of the engines from 3-litre V10s to 3.2-litre V10s. And a lot of teams are kind of struggling to keep things under wraps with their reliability. No custom teams with failures yet. Not in this qualifying session, no. As we see Justin Wilson through the penultimate corner, now the final corner for the Briton. And up towards the line, 2 yellow sectors for him in this lap. And it's not a good lap at all, over a second away from his personal best. Sees him remain in 8th position. Jarno Trulli out on circuit, one of the championship favourites, is believed to be in this season. And he's 5 tenths down. He's already 5 tenths down. Most certainly. And it's looking like this possibly could be a bit of an exploratory lap from the Italian. But if it's not, then he's definitely got to find some pace throughout this session.
Well, it is his first run, so it certainly will be more of a banker lap than anything. We can certainly assume that a qualifying missile like Trulli will be out qualifying his teammate Barrichello.
It seems like a fairly safe assumption of that, especially with the qualifying form that Jarno Trulli has been on in the past year. Jarno Trulli exiting the final corner for the final time up towards the line. It's a 1:29.3 to put him 6th fastest. A driver of previous status has been really struggling in both pre-season testing and practice. Alexander Wurz has not found himself anywhere near or barely brushing the top 10 in any of the sessions. It seems that Williams have also taken a big step backwards in terms of their performance and competitiveness, and it could lead to believe that Juan Pablo Montoya could possibly leave at the end of the season. His contract expires at the end of 2004. Wurz locked down for a bit longer until the end of 2005 as he moves up to 6th, marginally ahead of Jarno Trulli. Hello Cryptic, welcome into the stream.
Something already joked about on this car is the obvious front, which differs a lot from the other cars on the grid. The Walrus nose, as it has been dubbed by fans. it has been stated that it was implemented to maximize aerodynamic airflow under the car, but it will, will remain to see if this actually applies or if the car will suffer through it.
Trulli up towards the line. Improves by half a second to go to third place. So 2 consecutive laps there from the Italian. As Massa goes
going
8th place. Yes, a good lap there from the Red Bull driver.
Yeah.
The Red Bull has been shown a good turn of pace, especially in a straight line. Expected to be the fastest car in a straight line, and the most powerful engine on the grid, coming courtesy of Lamborghini. Could see the Red Bull team, the Red Bull Sauber team, put in some good performances at power tracks such as Monza and Silverstone.
The team will probably have to focus more on their development of aero upgrades then. With tracks like Kuala Lumpur, Manicourt, or San Marino coming up, it surely will be a difficult time period for them if they don't upgrade their aero parts.
But of course, that ever looming factor of unreliability for other teams could lead to Red Bull squeaking in a couple of good results early on. Yeah, it's just 26 cars. I never knew what to actually call you, so I'll just call you 17, because if I say then it just sounds like I'm talking normally. Anyway, Ralf Schumacher out of the final corner. I believe he was down in the first sector. He does... I don't know if he actually improved there. He didn't improve, so Ralf Schumacher stays in 10th for now, just over 200ths behind this man right here, Nicolas Manassian. Half a tenth down through the first 2 sectors. And he'll be hoping to possibly try and push to the upper echelons of the midfield after being a race winner for the first time in Arrows' history in their final season of their existence before being taken over by Toyota. He was there to claim victory in the Portuguese Grand Prix as Giorgio Pantano out on circuit once again, and purple off faster than Barrichello. Not purple though, because he doesn't quite beat Raikkonen's fastest time in the first sector. Giorgio Pantano now powering his way in his Renault towards the second sector split. Let's see what the time is. A 53.3 sees him 700ths down through that first couple of sectors.
Giorgio Pantano was highly rated in GP2, but hasn't really had that machine to show how fast he could go in Formula 1. Hopefully this year he has the machine that he needs to maybe fight for something greater.
A fun fact actually about Giorgio Pantano, he never appeared in second tier motorsport as opposed to real life, as some of you may know, as that's actually matching Barrichello. Exactly, 128.365 for Barrichello, 128.365 for Giorgio Pantano. Amazing.
That is unbelievable. Where has that come from?
A great last sector there from Giorgio Pantano sees him matching Barrichello, as Cristiano D'Amata improving in the first sector. Pantano on a second consecutive push lap, so we'll see what he's capable of doing. First sector, see what he's up to here. We've got a time comparison on the screen. Second sector is the only place where Giorgio Pantano is losing out to the Brazilian, as down into the heavy braking of turn 9, I believe that is, out of turn 10, as he now makes his way down the back straight. We'll see what this second sector split is for Giorgio Pantano. Purple sector 1, green sector 2, and 9 thousandths up on Rubens Barrichello's time. If he just matches himself in the final sector, this should be the fastest time so far that we've seen. Out of the final corner for Giorgio Pantano, Cristiano D'Amato 1.6 seconds off the pace to 15th. Giorgio Pantano, though, hoping to be a little bit higher, hoping to be first place, and he's exactly that. Pole position for him by just over a tenth of a second. A great second run for him following his engine failure in his first run, as Dan Weldon, we now see, is out on track. A surprising addition to the BAR crew. Obviously, was decided between him and fellow 2003 Audi teammate Tom Coronel to join David Coulthard at the team. They did not actually opted not to re-sign Cristiano D'Amato despite his good run of form in the second half of the season. Weldon, 17th place in his first run. Not what he would like to see, but I imagine he will improve as the session progresses. Juan Pablo Montoya, another driver who's really struggled to reach his potential, and if this Williams is not up to scratch, then he could not be possibly not pleased with what he's been given and possibly leave the team at the end of the season. 3 seconds off the pace for the Colombian, and it sees him down in 22nd position. Giorgio Pantano, though, 3rd push lap in a row, purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Let's see what he can do. Michael Schumacher's also going faster in the second sector, so much so that he's actually beating Pantano overall through the first 2 sectors up towards the line for Giorgio Pantano. Let's see if this is an improvement on his lap. It is 28-1, another tenth of a second found for the Italian to go to pole position by just over a quarter of a second. Michael Schumacher, though, looking to fight back in the McLaren, currently down in 6th place. Not a great first lap from him as he's seen himself get beaten by Kimi Räikkönen up towards the line for the 5-time world champion. And it is pole position, surprisingly. 300ths of a second is the gap between Michael Schumacher and Giorgio Pantano, and Schumacher on top. Quite a surprise there, Benny, to actually see Michael Schumacher fighting at the top. We saw that he was kind of struggling to get to grips with this new car that he's been dealt with, especially in pre-season testing.
But here we see the other German, Nick Heidfeld, in the Brabham, cornering the last few corners of the track, running up to the start-finish line to see where he qualifies the car. He doesn't even improve.
This has not been a good qualifying session for Nick Heidfeld, who was hoping to be at least on pace, if not better, than teammate Antonio Pitsonia. Shame to see that that is very clearly not the case with Pitsonia. Quite a way up the order, 6 tenths ahead of him and 7 positions further in the green. Mark Webber sets a lap time good enough for 12th place and slots himself between Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button. It seems that now we have reached pretty much dry conditions in this session, as we see numerous amounts of drivers out on circuit, including Patrick Friesacker, who moves. Oh, that's a
that's
big
some
problem.
smoke. Oh,
It's Barrichello again.
Oh, this is a very bad omen for Ferrari.
A very bad omen indeed. An engine failure for Barrichello, quickly followed from a brake failure just mere moments ago, about 10 minutes ago. And it seems that Barrichello could possibly, if they can't recover that car in time, could possibly be out of qualifying already. Let's see what happened. On board with Barrichello into turn 6. Very little control of his car. And he hits the wall, loses the front wing. And he is it's come a cropper to another Ferrari mechanical failure.
Having the car with the best pace isn't enough nowadays. You need a car that is reliable. Had this happened in the 80s, that was definitely more of an acceptable approach. But nowadays, reliability is one of the biggest factors a car needs.
Most definitely, as Patrick Friesacker now being caught a little bit there by the Red Bull behind him. I believe that's of Mark Webber, as we now see him enter the 3rd sector, yellow second sector, but improving in that first part of the lap. He's currently down in 24th place, which is almost within the danger zone of being knocked out in the session. Exiting the final corner now for Patrick Friesacker. I don't think this is going to be a fantastic lap from the Austrian. A 1:31.3 sees a slight improvement in his lap time, but not enough to move him any higher above Juan Pablo Montoya, who now is just 200ths ahead of the Austrian. Tiago Montero is another driver who will just be hoping at one point to qualify the car. Strangely, or possibly more smart in the financial decision of Minardi, Tiago Montero is on a race-by-race contract, with Baumgartner being on a season-long transfer to the team. A bit wide there from Montero. Through the first corner is going to already put him on the back foot as he heads towards turn 3. Fernando Alonso was another driver who was very strong in pre-season and practice. Goodbye, Flavio Briatore. Have fun playing Roblox. Just imagine Flavio Briatore rocking up to the paddock and just loading up Dress to Impress.
Well, with this car we are currently seeing, he certainly is impressing the paddock. Now it just needs to hold together, unlike the engines usually do from them. But that's probably the problem of another department in the racing team.
Fernando Alonso will be looking to possibly try and put himself within stretching distance of his teammates after this first lap. Quarter of a second down, though, through that first section. It's not going to please the Spanish driver all too much. Hello, Tom. Welcome in. Hope your day is going well. As he now enters the turn 9, turn 10 chicane, exits, and now it's a big long straight towards the fastest part of the lap, a left and then a right of turn 11 and turn 12, 6/10 down nearly through those first two sectors. He gets the first part and the second part of the chicane just right, and he now heads towards the heaviest braking zone on the track towards turn 13, gets that quite nicely wrapped up, and then towards the final couple of corners, swings it in left, one of the tightest corners of the track, and then through the final corner, make sure to not hit that wall on the left hand side and up towards the line for Fernando Alonso. What will the lap time be? A 1:29.1 for a banker lap. Not too bad, although he is over a second away from pole position. Nakano's, I just unironically called him Nakano is, I don't know, he's not gone out on circuit yet. Still got plenty of time to set a lap time, though.
Another driver that has not set another lap time yet and is in the elimination zone right now is Pedro de la Rosa. His teammate Timo Glock is currently in 18th and exiting the pit lane right now. But
Yeah,
Pedro de la Rosa is doing, I have no idea.
Yeah, Pedro de la Rosa really struggling, it seems, against his teammate Timo Glock. He's been second best to his young German teammate and currently finds himself over 4 seconds slower than Timo Glock, which is very strange to see. Hello Sampas, welcome in. Hope your day is going well.
There's certainly the possibility that over the winter break, age just has caught up with Pedro and he's now just slow. That is certainly a possibility. It has happened before to other drivers, and now we just have to wait and see. Wait out the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, we'll have to see the competitiveness of De La Rosa over much more of a wider range of circuits and sessions, as we now see Justin Wilson rounding the final corner. Failed to improve in the first sector, failed to improve in the second sector, and overall it's a worse lap. Ralf Schumacher on another lap in the Honda. He's down in 12th place right now, a bit further back than what he's used to in the BAR or the Ferrari. Out the final corner now for Ralf Schumacher. And it's a slight improvement. He stays 12th though. Jolt Baumgartner is the next driver to cross the line. He's currently over 10 seconds off of pole position. This certainly has not gone well for the Hungarian driver. And up towards the line for Baumgartner. He actually gets ahead of his teammate Thiago Monteiro. A decent lap in the fight between the Minardis, as they're 7 thousandths apart at what seems to be the slowest team on the grid. 7.4 seconds now away from pole position. It's looking like a massive struggle for either one of those drivers to get out of the bottom four, as we now see Shinji Nakano out on circuit. So it seems that we're going to see everyone setting a lap time in this session. Setting another lap time in this session, though, is Justin Wilson, as Shinji Nakano, right as we were just talking about him, has got some sort of problem with his car. A gearbox failure for the Boutsen car is going to put pay to his first run in this session, and hopefully they can get that sorted in time before the end of the session, or Shinji Nakano is going to have no chance of getting out of the bottom four.
Well, it's not surprising to see that a team like Boutsen are already having problems, while Timo Glock goes 14th. The team switched its owners mid-season last season, so that's already not a good omen for the team as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, Olivier Grillard is not in the top four in 2004. I don't think he'd even be racing by this point in his actual real-life racing career. But alas, current order with just 19 minutes remaining. Michael Schumacher currently on pole position, with Giorgio Pantano completing the front row. Then we've got Rubens Barrichello, David Coulthard and Jarno Trulli completing the top five. Right as I say that, he's going out on circuit. We've actually got 4 different constructors in the top 4. Very exciting stuff. Giorgio Pantano not quite improving on his personal best, but is still faster than Michael Schumacher through that first sector. We'll see how he fares as he heads towards the second sector split. Heavy on the brakes, flick it in right, hold it out on the right hand side as you hold on for dear life, turning left, 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 down this big long straight. He's a 10th down as he heads through the fast chicane, left and then right. And now he heads to the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. Gets that nicely sewn up out wide towards that curb. And then to the third to last corner. Into turn 15. One of the tightest and most trickiest corners to not lock up an inside front and to go wide. And then out the final corner. Make sure to not hit that wall on the outside. And you should be good for a good lap time. Up towards the line for Pantano. Fails to improve. Stays second. Patrick Friesacker is a driver that's under pressure of being knocked out in this session. He's currently 3.2 seconds off the pace. As actually, I've just realised this, Justin Wilson has now completed all of his laps, so he will start no higher than 22nd in this Grand Prix. Friesacker up towards the line improves by 0.6 to go to 24th position. Dan Weldon is another driver desperate of an improvement. With his teammate up in 4th, he needs to be a lot higher than 19th place despite his lack of experience.
Well, that already is a bad session for the Rotherham boy. 12, or rather 6 timed laps already done in only 20 seconds. That's not a good look for the Rose team, which last season was probably the fastest out of the custom teams.
Montoya is also another car that needs to set a good lap time. He's currently down in 26th place and 3 seconds off the mark. As Weldon, great lap from him, 5th place from him, 0.6 off of pole position, and BAR really proving their worth following pre-season testing. Jarno Trulli behind a McLaren there. I'm not exactly sure who that is. That's Kimi Räikkönen that he's following there. And as such, I don't think Jarno Trulli is going to be setting a good enough lap time to push him further up the order. This is going to be quite disappointing if Jarno Trulli can't get any higher than 6th place and is behind both BARs. Fernando Alonso re-enters the track racing surface. We'll be hoping to be a little bit higher than 10th place. He's currently over a second away from pole position as Montoya currently on a clear lap at that, as he now starts to catch Giorgio Pantano. His Nils, it's because I'm eating my dinner while I do that. Montoya 3/10 down through the second sector, an improvement of 2.7 seconds, so it's not for long that he will be this far down the order. As he heads now into turn 13, the 90-degree right-hander. Despite what the F1 Challenge commentator says, there are 90-degree turns around this circuit. Now towards the penultimate corner on this circuit. Kimi Räikkönen purple in the first sector, but we'll carry on watching Juan Pablo Montoya for right now, exiting the final corner for the final time. Pantano fails to improve. Montoya, though, a great lap from him, sees him push all the way up to 4th place. Kimi Räikkönen, purple and purple through the first 2 sectors, a 10th up on his teammate Michael Schumacher in a season where we were expected to see Ferrari versus Renault. It could be McLaren that seizes the front row here in Albert Park. Through the final couple of corners for the young Finn, towards the penultimate corner now, the quick couple of corners now. Long right-hander, get on the power as early as you possibly can for Kimi Räikkönen, up towards the line, power, 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 and it will be pole position for Kimi Räikkönen by 0.3 of a second. Trulli moves up to 3rd, but that's a brilliant start to the season as it currently stands for McLaren Mercedes. Fernando Alonso currently out on circuit and is 1.4 seconds off of pole position following Kimi Räikkönen's improvement to the top of the times. What can the young Spaniard do, though? He's less than 1/10 of a second away through the first 2 sectors. This could be a good enough lap to possibly try and land himself on pole position if he can stitch together a good final couple of corners into turn 13 now, as we now run on board with the young Spaniard. Into the penultimate corner now for Fernando Alonso. Can he possibly hold his nerve to try and take pole position here at Albert Park? He's now raising up the gears, 5th gear. As he crosses the line, he'll move up to 6th gear. It won't quite be pole position, but it'll be enough to split the 2 McLarens to get onto the front row. And it'll be a good race start for Fernando Alonso if he can stay there. Pedro de la Rosa currently in the bottom 4, looking for an improvement. He's currently getting one, although he might get it held up a little bit there by Tiago Montero's Minardi. Around the final couple of corners with just 12 minutes remaining on the clock for Pedro de la Rosa. Currently 3.4 seconds away from safety, and this should be a good enough lap to see him into the top 26. It is enough to see him move up to 21st position. Michael Schumacher currently on a lap, improving through the first part. The second part, though, is not as strong. Half a 10th down, on himself through those first 2 sectors as he now heads towards turn 13. It's 12 laps. It's 12 laps in the hour session. Yeah, so it's now Patrick Friesacker that finds himself on the bubble, just 0.3 ahead of Takuma Sato in the Honda. It'd be a great shame if he fails to get into the top 26, as Michael Schumacher improves ever so slightly by a couple of thousandths of a second, but stays in 3rd. Benoit Trellier will be the next driver to cross the line, as well as Riccardo Speraffico on a handsome improvement there through the first sector. Second sector for him, he's 0.4 down on the pole time, so this could be a lap good enough to possibly put himself into the top 10. Trellier remains in 19th place. What about Riccardo Speraffico? pushed out of Prost following financial problems for the team. Takuma Sato also out there on circuit, but a poor first sector for him. Could see a possible upset in the first qualifying session of the year. He's currently 4 tenths up on his own personal best, but as that currently stands, it won't be enough to even possibly put him in the top 26. Sperafico, 9th place. Good lap from the Brazilian to push himself up the order and out of harm's way in terms of the elimination zone. Takuma Sato up towards the final couple of corners. He desperately needs a good lap here to have any chance of qualifying his Honda in the Australian Grand Prix. Let's see what he's capable of as we head up towards the line. It's 19th place for Sato, good enough to keep him in the safety zone, possibly for the rest of the session, but it's not good viewing for Honda with his world champion teammate down in 15th. Zsolt Baumgartner currently in 28th position, trying to find absolutely anything that he can out of that Minardi, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He's already nearly crossed the pole time already. There's the pole time, and he's not even got round the final corner. So up towards the line for the Hungarian of Zsolt Baumgartner. And it is not enough to see him improve on his position. Benoit Trellier is now also set all of his laps. Ralph Furman goes 14th, just ahead of his teammate Nicholas Manassian. Nick Heidfeld is now the driver on the bubble. Yellow in Sector 1, green in Sector 2. Friesacker also out on circuit looking for an improvement to try and knock Justin Wilson out of his first race here at Rose Toyota. Up towards the line for Heidfeld. He doesn't improve on his position. It's a 31-1, which sees him stay 26th fastest. This could be a huge upset for the driver that was expected to be leading this team this season. Rounding the final corner now for the Austrian of Patrick Friesacker. Can he go into the top 26? He fails to do so. He improves, but only by 4 thousandths of a second. Stays in 27th place. Coulthard will be looking to try and get himself at least maybe into the top 3 rows on the grid as Pitstonia improves ever so slightly to 21st place. Coulthard, meanwhile, up towards the line, currently on a 28.5 and in 8th place. Can he improve on his position? He can, to bump down Barrichello as he now goes up to 6th position. Mark Webber is another driver that's not showing as much promise as his teammate Felipe Massa. 4 tenths separating the two of them at the Australian's home Grand Prix. Ralf Schumacher finds improvement, stays 15th however, cannot move any higher than between the two Dams Lolas. So quite a shame for the world champion. Up towards the line for Mark Webber. What can the Australian do at his home circuit? 17th only, an improvement of just under 2 tenths. Does not see him any higher than 17th. Manassian's not looking like he's going to improve, so let's have a look at Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams BMW, currently in 8th place and quite considerably far ahead of his teammate, marginally up through that second sector on himself by 0.04 of a second. Manassian fails to improve. Shinji Nakano, though, on his first lap, 30.6 in the first sector. Not brilliant from the Japanese driver, but if he stitches together the second 2 sectors with a good lap time, then he could possibly find himself close to trying to get into the top 26. Up towards the line for Montoya, though, and he fails to improve on his position. I believe he improved ever so slightly on his time, but not much else to write home about for Williams. The main driver we need to focus on, though, is Shinji Nakano, on the verge of trying to qualify only the second time in his Boots and Energy Racing career, despite being at the team for now his second season at the Belgian outfit. Up towards the line for Shinji Nakano. Can he get himself into the top 26? He can't. 4 seconds off pole position, and that's 28th place for the Japanese driver. Kimi Raikkonen looking for further improvements on his lap. He might have a bit of traffic problems with the Red Bull directly in front of him as he heads through the final couple of corners. Jarno Trulli moves up to second place, as I believe Fernando Alonso is also just dispatched of Michael Schumacher to move up to third. Up towards the line though for Raikkonen. He improves on his pole time to go even faster by 0.3 of a second. This is a huge surprise for everyone at McLaren, as now Finn moves almost 0.3 ahead of the rest of the field. Just check that. Okay, that's fine.
You failed to improve your position. You are now 8th.
Dan Weldon exiting the final corner, currently down in 10th place, and remains so. So he looks like he's going to get out qualified by his world champion teammate, but that's kind of expected for him. Shinji Nakano on another lap in this session, trying to get as many laps as he can before the session expires. Just 5 minutes to go. He improves by 0.2, not enough to move him any higher up the grid. He needs another second if he wants to even get past his teammate Patrick Friesacker. Jarno Trulli improves, but not to within just under 0.2 of Kimi Raikkonen. The Ferrari has no response to the Finn's pace. Pedro de la Rosa now doing a lap for security, down in 24th place, but if he improves on this lap, he could push himself as high as 20th in this session. And Pedro de la Rosa moves up to 23rd with that lap, ahead of Cristiano De Mata, down in 24th in the Jaguar. That's horrible viewing if you're a Jaguar fan, as Michael Schumacher up towards the line improves slightly, cannot dispatch Alonso, relieve him of his third place. As such, he's currently down in 4th. I think that's going to be it for Michael Schumacher's run in this qualifying session. Montero and Baumgartner both out there on circuit to try and find any form or any pace that they can out of their cars, but we'll have to see if they can actually get anything out of the car. Riccardo Sperrifico surprisingly beating his world champion teammate Jacques Villeneuve right now. Maybe the lack of experience in a Formula 1 car really hindering the Canadian right now. 3 minutes to go and Sperrifico up towards the line. Fails to improve, stays 9th. Takuma Sato down in 20th place. He's looking for a healthy improvement to try and put himself somewhere to level pegging with his teammate Ralf Schumacher. As he now makes his way through that final corner. Once again, for the Japanese driver, 1 point scored only in last season's calendar. Can he improve to possibly try and score points today? I don't think he's going to be able to from 20th place on the grid. He's going to have his work cut out for him, but you never know in Formula 1. Anything can happen, and it usually does, as Shinji Nakano still trying to get any ounce of performance out of him and the car that he's been given. Now in the final sector, and it's not looking good for either Minardi or Boutsen Energy Racing, with both teams looking like early exits from this weekend. Exiting the final corner now for Shinji Nakano. Can he find an extra second's worth of pace? He can't. He can't at all. He's still over 4 seconds away from pole, and I think that's going to put pay to Shinji Nakano's session. With Friesacker also not out there in time, I think it's going to be both Boutsens out of the session. So now we can look towards the front of the field to see who will take the major placings in the top 10. David Coulthard currently on a lap, but failing to improve on his current personal best through that first part of the lap, as Shinji Nakano still trying absolutely anything that he can to try and drag that car into the top 26. Baumgartner fails to improve, Coulthard failing to improve, but only by 5 thousandths of a second through the first two sectors. We'll see if he can possibly sneak his way ahead of Giorgio Pantano, but most of the drivers currently in the pits, which I think it means that Kimi Raikkonen is looking good for pole position for now. We'll look at David Coulthard though, rounding the final couple of corners through the penultimate and then the final corner. Rounding that one, make sure not to hit the wall on the outside, and powering up towards the line for the 2000 world champion. Can he improve? He does not improve. A fairly poor last sector there from him sees him only in 6th place. Out the final corner for Shinji Nakano, trying to get anything that he can out of this session. Once again, he's been on about 6 push laps in a row, sees a 10th improvement, moves to within 4 seconds of pole, but it's still not enough. Checkered flag has now fallen in the session. Kimi Raikkonen's not going to pose a threat. Neither is Coulthard, which means that the only one that's going to be able to dethrone the McLaren driver, possibly, is going to be Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams. He's down on himself in the first sector, 25.9, not too strong for the Williams driver. What does the second split show? 300ths down through that second sector, so the final sector must be an absolute godsend from Juan Pablo Montoya, and sees him improve by about 8 tenths, or there's no chance that he's going to take Kimi Raikkonen's pole position away from him. Into the final couple of corners for Juan Pablo Montoya. I don't think it's going to be enough to take pole position here today, up towards the line for the Williams driver. And it is a failure to improve. Is Dan Weldon out on track? He's on an out lap, supposedly, despite the checkered flag being out. So I think that's going to do it for this qualifying session, which means that your qualifying order for the 2004 Australian Grand Prix, there's confirmation. Surprisingly, despite the possible pace that Ferrari and Renault showed, it's McLaren on top with Kimi Raikkonen on pole position for the season opener. Jarno Trulli on the front row with Fernando Alonso completing the top 3. Then comes the 5-time champion of Michael Schumacher starting from 4th, ahead of Pantano, Coulthard, Barrichello and Montoya completing the top 8. Sperrifico and Dan Weldon complete the top 10, with the second Toyota of Jacques Villeneuve down in 11th. A struggled session for Alexander Wurz in the Williams sees him start from 12th, ahead of Ralph Furman, Felipe Massa and reigning world champion Ralf Schumacher in 15th. Then comes Manassian, Webber, Timo Glock, Jenson Button in the lead Jaguar, all the way down in 19th, just ahead of Takuma Sato, who completes the top 20. Then comes Pitsonia, Benoit Trellier, Pedro de la Rosa, Cristiano D'Amata in the second Jaguar, Justin Wilson, and Nick Heidfeld just about sneaks onto the grid, which means that the 4 drivers out of the session are both the Bootsons in the form of Frisaka and Nakano, and both the Minardis in the form of Montero and Baumgartner. Join us in a few moments when we get the race underway. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are here for race day for the 2004 Australian Grand Prix, where we saw Kimi Raikkonen take a brilliant pole position ahead of Jarno Trulli and Fernando Alonso. Benny, what is your prediction for pole position? Sorry, not pole position, the race win, of course.
Well, we have Raikkonen on the top. It could definitely be his second ever win in F1. At the same time, Trulli and Alonso will be hungry to also be on the top step at the end of the race. Michael Schumacher has enough experience to also just win the race. It is anyone's guess, really. Maybe the top 8 all break down and Fico wins. Anything of this could happen. Any of these scenarios could happen.
That's a perfectly fair statement, as I don't see how Ferrari can realistically win this, especially with the mechanical failures that they had in pre-season testing and in practice and in qualifying as well. They seem to be massively struggling with the reliability and the sustainability of keeping that car alive for a race distance. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Hello, Rose, welcome in. And Ferda, I don't know if that is your name, but welcome in. Hope you are both having a good day. Oh, is it Fur? Ah, okay. Hello, welcome.
Oh,
that's an interesting
Fur.
name. I'm not actually going to say that, but no, this is the race. We've just completed qualifying. And in a couple minutes,
that is
we'll
an
be
interesting
getting
name.
the race underway. It's not Fur. Okay. This is just the reconnaissance lap to the start of the race. I will state there are no formation laps in this because F1 Challenge is a bit stupid when it comes to doing formation laps, so I've left that alone. We just do reconnaissance laps and then we go straight to the 5 red lights. So there we saw Ralf Schumacher lining up in his 15th slot on the grid. Have I got... Yes, your Fur. Oh, okay. I don't know what the no. Oh, the no was to is it quali? Right, yeah, my bad. Yeah, welcome in, Fur. Hope your day has gone well. How have I got 26 cars? I basically just duplicate each car and retexture and rename all the textures. Or, like, other people do it for their own liveries and so on.
Yeah.
It's fairly easy to mod.
Some cars are not from this season. Some cars are just imported from like what 03 and do we have 02 chassis on the grid?
I don't think there are any O2 chassis, but there is a number of O3 chassis on the grid. There's an 05 chassis as well on the grid as well. So welcome in, David. Hope that you've had a good day. Who's who? So we got Raikkonen, Schumacher at McLaren, Jarno Trulli and Rubens Barrichello at Ferrari. We got Alonso and Pantano at Renault, Coulthard and Weldon at British American Racing, Montoya and Wirtz at Williams, Villeneuve and Speraffico at Toyota, Furman and Manassian at Dams Lola Panos, which is a team that replaced Jordan back in 2002. Massa and Webber are at Red Bull Sauber, Ralf Schumacher and Takuma Sato at Honda, Webber, I've already said Webber, Button and Cristiano D'Amata at Jaguar, with Pitsonia and Heidfeld at Brabham, Trellier and Wilson at Rose Toyota, and Glock and Pedro de la Rosa at Opel. Hello again, Senna. I know I've seen your name. You've said hello about 7 times, but hello again. I'll wait for the last couple of cars to line up on the grid, and then we will get this 2004 season underway. Just now waiting on Fernando Alonso to line up on the grid.
Hello there. Welcome to Australia. The weather, as so often is the case here, is just wonderful. Raikkonen just got the edge over his teammate. He starts from first. Jarno Trulli, second. Fernando Alonso, third. The McLaren driver put on a fantastic display throughout the qualifying hour. He starts this race from a very promising fourth. Giorgio Pantano, fifth. Coulthard, sixth. Rubens Barrichello, seventh. Juan Pablo Montoya, eighth.
Ricardo Sperafico,
Ninth.
Dan Weldon,
10th. Villeneuve, 11th. Wirtz, 12th. Ralph Bergman, 13th. Massa, 14th. Schumacher, 15th.
Nicolas Menassiron,
16th. Webber, 17th. Tim Mutlow, 18th. Button, 19th. Takuma Sato, 20th. Antonio Pizzonia, 21st.
Benoit Trellier,
22nd. De La Rosa, 23rd. Cristiano Damata, 24th.
And with Wilson and Heidfeld on the back row, it's time to go racing 58 laps ahead of the drivers of this Albert Park circuit, and we are just 5 lights away from the 2004 season. The lights are green, there's racing to be seen, not for one of the Red Bulls, that has to be Mark Webber at his home race, devastation for him. Meanwhile, Jarno Trulli is challenging up the inside of Kimi Raikkonen in towards turn 1, and Jarno Trulli has taken the lead here in Australia. It's a fantastic start for the Italian as he powers away at the start. Raikkonen left in the dust of the Italian ahead of him, and now he falls under pressure from Fernando Alonso. Great start for David Coulthard as well, who moves up to 4th place. As there's a problem further back, Timo Glock is in a huge amount of trouble. He's lost his front and rear wings, and that's going to mean that the German's race is over at lap 1. So we'll see what will happen here with Timo Glock. Heading towards turn 1. Not exactly sure what happened. He took a fairly tentative start at the beginning, and it must have happened somewhere down at turn 3, some sort of concertina effect. He just kind of turns in ahead of Felipe Massa there, and Timo Glock's lack of experience, his first ever Grand Prix start, is going to come to an abrupt halt at the end of the first lap. It is indeed Glock. That's Glock going slowly, and it will be Glock, the second retirement of this race, alongside Mark Webber. But it's Jarno Trulli that leads ahead of Raikkonen and Alonso. Alonso already putting Raikkonen under an amount of pressure that could prove costly to the Finn. As there goes Ralf Schumacher up the inside of Nicolas Menassin in the battle for 14th. Can't quite make his way through. A bit of contact there between the Dams Lola and the Honda. But it's a great start there for the Ferrari team. Ralf Schumacher again trying to look for a move elsewhere, as Pedro De La Rosa's just dispatched of Jenson Button for 18th position. So De La Rosa's had a fantastic start. Meanwhile, the Jaguars have only fallen backwards. And off this start, the person who's gained the most places, Trellier, De La Rosa and Heidfeld, all up 5 places, as Dan Weldon there just dispatching of Jacques Villeneuve for 9th position. He's also gotten past Ricardo Sperafico, I believe, as well in that
Coulthard is running fourth.
dispute
It's right
between the
in
two of
front
them,
you.
as Jarno Trulli with a
You're running
fantastic
fifth.
lead after the opening lap. 2 seconds is now the gap between him and Kimi Raikkonen, as Fernando Alonso keeps the Finn under close pressure for that second position. David Coulthard also with a fair amount of pace, pulling away from Michael Schumacher behind. And there's the confirmation, Timo Glock out of the race. Quite a shame for the Opel team, with De La Rosa the only driver left to possibly try and score a good result today. Alonso looking towards the inside there of turn 9, can't find a way through as Trulli seems to just romp off into the distance. Raikkonen struggling early on in this race. Alonso looking for any way through that he possibly can, as Heidfeld is also running into problems. Down at the back, and Pitsonia's also lost his front wing. Have the two Brabhams come together? This will be terrible for their start to the season, as there goes Sato up the inside of Cristiano. That's not D'Amato, that's Button. Button's now demoted down to 20th.
Has lost his rear wing.
As there's a huge crash at the front. Raikkonen's off. And I think Schumacher's also crashed. We've got a large amount of debris on circuit. We'll have to see what happened here between the two Brabhams. Here they are, far down the order. And Pizzonia's just driven into the back of his teammate Nick Heidfeld. And that's a huge mistake there for Antonio Pizzonia. He's surely going to get a penalty for that one. Let's see what happened further up the order, though. It seemed like a bit of a lunge from Fernando Alonso, tipping round Kimi Raikkonen and getting other people involved. Coulthard, I believe, has lost his front wing, as has Michael Schumacher. No, Coulthard's carried on. So Coulthard is going to move up to second place in this race, ahead of Barrichello. Barrichello's got through that perfectly fine. As that's a huge shame there for all teams involved.
You're right there, Jaden.
So both McLarens will be shortly into the pits. They won't double stack, by the way. It's just a bit of a problem with the pit boxes. So a fantastic start then for Jarno Trulli, who's now 10 seconds up the road from second place. David Coulthard, as that's Rose Toyota nearly spinning round there.
Is running 19.
Justin Wilson nearly spinning round there, fortunately keeping it out of the barriers, but a chaotic start to this Australian Grand Prix.
Wilson's weekend is declining further and further. This is not what the Rose team was looking for the opening of the 2004 season.
So David Coulthard is loving life at the moment. He's up in second place with his teammate in 7th. So it's looking like BAR are looking for a good amount of points, as Giorgio Pantano's just overtaken Juan Pablo Montoya in the battle for 4th place. Jacques Villeneuve and Dan Weldon both in a watching brief of that one, as Montoya tries and plots a revenge dive up the inside. Can't find a way through though, and stays in 5th place for now. Jarno Trulli setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:29.9, and is pulling away extensively at the front of the field. For Alonso and Trulli aren't teammates. Trulli's at Ferrari and Fernando Alonso's at Renault alongside Pantano, so they are almost direct rivals at this point. Some big gainers up and down the field, especially with the Dams Lola crew, now up in 10th and 11th place. Ralph Furman starting to pile the pressure on 2001 champion Alexander Wurz.
Justin Wilson is running 19. About 5 seconds ahead. You're running 20th.
It seems that Coulthard has currently got the legs on Rubens Barrichello to keep him at least arm's length. Maybe the Brazilian is on a heavy fuel load, either way. But with that, Giorgio Pantano really starting to close in, especially on Rubens Barrichello on his Renault debut, has got a brilliant run on the Ferrari driver in towards turn 13. Will he look towards and the inside where Alonso got past Raikkonen? They've made contact. Barrichello's nearly gone round, but Pantano's through up into third place. A bit of a forceful move there from Pantano, which Barrichello will not like one bit. But the Italian driver is now up into third position. Benoit Trellier off. Benoit Trellier is off. He's had a spin down at turn 13 and he's moved down to 17th place. Button just getting the ahead of him before they reach the final couple of corners, but the the Rose crew are going to be quite devastated with both drivers making mistakes early on. Here comes Ralph Furman now with a possible run on Alexander Wirtz in towards turn 3. Manassian also looking close. There's almost contact between the two Damslolas there. A bit of miscommunication between the two of them, nearly causing a crash for the battle for 9th place. Ralf Schumacher, though, also quickly getting involved in this battle. Montoya, a bit of a roadblock for Jacques Villeneuve right now. The Toyota driver a bit impatient in the slipstream of Juan Pablo Montoya. They're side by side, nearly making contact at the middle sector chicane, but he can't quite find his way through so far. Pantano has already pulled out nearly a 2-second gap over Rubens Barrichello in the battle for third, as there goes Villeneuve up the inside of the fast chicane. Surely not, they nearly make contact. The Colombian and the Canadian feisty driving here from the pair of them, as Dan Weldon tries to get his stamp on the situation. Villeneuve up the inside at turn 13, can't quite find his way through at 14. By the time they get to 15, it's as they were in the battle for 4th place, as Montoya's been spun round by Villeneuve, and that's caused a massive roadblock, and through goes Weldon up into 5th place. It's been a fantastic race for BAR so far, with Weldon now up into 5th. Villeneuve once again up the inside of Montoya, not leaving him alone, as the stewards have now awarded Antonio Pizzonia a 10-second time penalty for colliding with his teammate Nick Heidfeld on the second lap.
Is running 19th, less than 3 seconds ahead. You're running 20th.
Villeneuve is apparently not happy over the radio with Montoya's antics, but it seems like the Colombian didn't really do anything wrong in that scenario. Esperifico now starting to be put under pressure by not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 drivers in the battle for the final points playing position. Villeneuve once again hatching a possible plot to try and get through on Juan Pablo Montoya through the chicane. Will Montoya go a little bit wide? It doesn't seem so that the Colombian can be shaken by the 1997 world champion. Trellier's got past Jenson Button in the battle for 16th, so Jaguar really struggling at this early stanza of the Grand Prix. Gap at the front now, 13.7 seconds to David Coulthard. We'll get a look at the last lap times. So it's David Coulthard 9/10 slower than Jarno Trulli at this current stage, with Pantano closing him in at a rate of about 2 to 3 tenths a lap. Barrichello, meanwhile, going quite a lot slower than the top 3. Coulthard more than 2 seconds faster than 4th place man Barrichello. It'll be soon pit stop time for 3 stoppers in this Grand Prix, as we now head onto the midway point of lap 7. Michael Schumacher has now been caught by Justin Wilson and Cristiano D'Amato. Up the inside goes the Rose Toyota on the Jaguar. There's contact between the two, but Cristiano D'Amato holds firm to stay in 18th place. Not a good sight for the Jaguar team whatsoever, but any position that they can hold on to will be a good result in this early part of the season.
Jarno Trulli has just put up the fastest lap of the
Justin
race.
Wilson trying to look for a move up the inside of Cristiano de Mata again. Can't find his way through as Villeneuve moves up to 6th ahead of Montoya. We didn't see that one. We're going to replay that one actually because that battle has been brewing for a number of laps between the Canadian and the Colombian. Stuck behind Dan Weldon, a greater straight line speed from the Toyota and braking up the inside of the Colombian. A switchback move though, sending the Colombian wide, and that's enough to dispatch of him for 6th position.
Villeneuve certainly has shown already in only the first 8 laps that he is ready for a comeback, and he is not slowing down for anyone.
Definitely not, as he now tries and puts a move on Dan Weldon within the next couple of laps. Alexander Wirtz trying to find a way through on Riccardo Sperrifico, and the longer that he leaves it, the longer he's put under pressure by Ralph Furman and Nicolas Manassian behind. Will he possibly look for a move towards the inside of turn 3? Wirtz will do. Can't find a way through though. It's Michael Schumacher who missed that, but he's gotten past...
You're running 20th.
no, he hasn't got past Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson's got past Cristiano de Mata for 18th position. You expect more pent manoeuvres in this race? Maybe so. Maybe the drivers are not quite as used to these cars as what we thought they were, at least in racing conditions. It's either way, the McLarens that were once possibly pipped for an early victory in this season, down in 20th and 21st. It's been an absolutely shocking start for McLaren. Both drivers needing a pit stop in these early stages. Trulli now 15 seconds in the lead of this Grand Prix, as Dan Weldon now is put under a heavy pressure from Jacques Villeneuve behind.
There's also the possibility Trulli's on a other pit strategy. You know, maybe on a 3 pit stop strategy or whatever. That could explain why he's so rapid than the other guys behind him.
Maybe so, as Jacques Villeneuve not really close enough to make a move there. He needs to stay in the slipstream a little bit longer if he wants to try and get past the Audi-powered BAR. But so far for BAR, it's looking great right now. Currently, as it stands, they will score 13 points from the opening round.
Schumacher is running 18.
As Schumacher has gotten past Cristiano de Mata, we missed that. Raikkonen also getting past Cristiano de Mata at turn 2. Oh, Nils, you missed it. By the way, for those that were wondering, Villeneuve has been given a 5-second time penalty for his collision with Juan Pablo Montoya a couple of laps ago. Nils, you would have missed that Pitsonia just drove into the back of Heidfeld, and Heidfeld lost his rear wing, and Pitsonia lost his front wing. Pitsonia's been given a 10-second penalty. Any new circuits this year? Yes, we've got the Shanghai International Circuit making its debut, as well as Bahrain. Yeah, those are both correct. Bahrain is round 3, and I believe Shanghai is round 15 or 14. 14 or 15, so towards the end. Yeah, just the IRL new circuits. The only difference to the real-life calendar, other than the order of which the tracks are actually in, is the fact that the A1 ring in Austria is still on the calendar, and the Nürburgring is no longer on the grid. Calendar says 16, is it? Okay.
Is stuck in first gear.
As Cristiano de Mata is going to become the 5th retirement of this Grand Prix. A gearbox failure for the Jaguar driver season. Absolutely awful start to the season for the Black Cats, come to an abrupt halt on lap 10. If you're wondering why I go so quiet, by the way, when I say that stuff like that, it's because I'm writing it down in a notebook. It's round 16. Okay. I can't remember how many rounds there were, okay? In real life, the last time that the Austrian Grand Prix happened was 2003. As we've missed that Antonio Pizzoni has now been lapped by Jarno Trulli. And it's only lap 11, so it's not been a good start to the season at all for the Brabham team. He is doing a good job right now. Coulthard managing that gap very well to Giorgio Pantano in third. Gap is about 3 seconds between the two of them, as we haven't even realised the gap between the two Ferraris after just 10.5 laps is 35 seconds. That's nearly 2 pit stops gaps worth of time between the two of them. So thanks to those early race scuffles, we have seen quite the grid spread so far in this Grand Prix.
You're running 19.
Now we just have to wait out and see how the reliability holds up for the Ferraris.
Yeah, most certainly. As yeah, it was correct that in real life, Austria returned in 2014 after coming off the grid in 2003.
Trulli has just put up the fastest lap of the race.
Trulli again putting in fastest lap after fastest lap. Gap to the second place now is 17.5 seconds, nearly a whole pit stops gap ahead of the Scotsman in second position. That's wide there from Ralph Berman, and it might open the door of opportunity to his teammate Nicolas Manassi to try and move himself up into 11th place. Thinks the better of it for now. Thinks they're in a good position, and doesn't believe that he can actually fight the two cars ahead of him. Maybe his teammates at a good enough pace, Ralph Berman that is, to keep the top two within tabs. Yeah, we have had a number of different circuits to real life on this, such as in 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, and the replacement for Spa in 2003. We had the Estoril circuit.
Justin Wilson, Schumacher
We
is
had
running 18.
Donington Park for the European Grand Prix in 2001. What else did we have?
We had the Adelaide circuit in '99.
Oh yeah, we did actually have that for the Pacific Grand Prix. Forgot about that track. It was a pretty boring race, that one, despite the crazy result that we ended up getting in that race. That race actually saw the first ever podium for BAR in their history, courtesy of Ralf Schumacher scoring second place behind Michael Schumacher.
Last season, due to the Shanghai circuit not being up for racing by 2003, we had the Zhuhai circuit being a replacement or a stand-in for the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yep, we did. We also had last season, the United States Grand Prix is currently on a rotation basis between the Watkins Glen circuit in New York and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Last season was the first ever race returning for Watkins Glen, and it produced quite a good race. Saw Michael Schumacher crash out from the lead, and in the end it cost him his championship in 2003. Yeah, I definitely have plans on making it a bit more fantasy if I possibly can, but if the mods aren't that good, then I won't enforce it too much. Jarno Trulli into the box from the race lead on lap 13, possibly suggesting a 3-stop strategy, hence why he has been so fast in this early part of the race. Jaguar also looking to be in the pits? Surely not, with Jenson Button being this slow. I don't actually have pit crew like attire for all the teams on the grid, so it might not actually be Jaguar. Jarno Trulli re-emerges in third place, which means that David Coulthard
Opel.
on BAR Audi's first race in the sport leads a Grand Prix. Very exciting stuff for that team. Opel into the pits at the end of this lap. That's of course got to be for Pedro de la Rosa in the remaining Opel that there is left. you having a league race where you crashed out on the restart after a safety car in Eau Rouge to seeing your two drivers crashing. Yep, it's been a fantastic evening for Nils Hartl. Anyway, into the box comes Pedro de la Rosa. It is for Pedro de la Rosa, okay. So he's possibly also on a 3-stop strategy. That's going to drop him down all the way to 20th place, as we've got massive position change there. Ralph Furman down the order. Ralph Furman massively down the order there. We've got an inkling of to what happened on the replay. So Ralph Furman trying to get up the inside there of Alex Wirtz, getting a little bit overzealous. Manassian goes through. Ralf Schumacher goes through, Massa goes through, and as such, the pair of drivers in Furman and Wirtz lose a heap of time and a load of positions, down in 12th and 13th now for the pair that have just had that incident. Trellier to box at the end of this lap, apparently, according to his team radio. Manassian now moving up to 9th place. Maybe Mugello's the European Grand Prix. Maybe. I have seen a mod for the Mugello circuit that does look interesting and could possibly be used.
Rose Motorsport.
Already in the pits.
Pantano really closing in that gap, mainly because it could be the fact that Antonio Pizzoni was a bit in the way there of the leaders, as Justin Wilson has just dispatched of Jenson Button for 16th position.
There's a spin in sector 3. Watch for the yellow flags.
Ralf Schumacher into the box on the end of lap 14, as is Benoit Trellier. Yeah, it's quite strange to see that Michael Schumacher does not have the legs on any of the back markers, saying that he's got a great run now on Jenson Button, apologies, towards the inside. There's contact between the two of them. Button holds his ground for now, but I think it's only going to be a matter of time until the Briton loses out on another place in this Grand Prix. Benny, what do you think of Jaguar's season so far? Oh, as Coulthard is now boxed. Is it in any
Dams
realms of
Lola.
possibility as a team to fund the appearance of a GP?
Already in the pits.
Maybe. I've not used Kyle Army before, no, because the mod in terms of the AI is not great. So yeah, I haven't. They don't really overtake much, and it wouldn't make for, I don't think, great racing. David Coulthard, meanwhile, rejoined it in third. Giorgio Pantano now leads the race by just over 5 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli.
There's a spin in sector 3. Watch for the
Pit
yellow
stop
flags.
battle between Dams Lola Panos and the Honda team. Let's see who will rejoin first.
Button is running 13th. Is right in front of you.
I think Sato has just got the jump on Furman, if I'm not mistaken. Out of the pits comes Sato in 16th, Furman 17th. Sato's come out just behind his teammate Ralf Schumacher. So both the Hondas on a 3-stop strategy and now found themselves buried down the order. All of these pit stops now promotes Justin Wilson into the top 12. Yeah, I don't know how I would actually... Yeah, I don't know how I'd actually do that.
Dams Lola.
Already in the pits.
Raikkonen getting past Jensen Button there in the battle for 40. Well, not really a battle. Manassian into the box from 9th on lap 17. I don't think I don't know if I've actually. Is there a? I don't think there is a DM version of the A1 ring.
11th is right in front of you. You're running 12.
I'm not entirely sure on that. Nicholas Manassian rejoins in 15th. I have used the RH version of that track. Oh, Dietrich Mateschitz. Yep, sorry, my bad. I forget. Yep, my bad. When I think DM, I think of like the David Marquez conversions of Arfax tracks. Yep, my bad. Okay. I didn't actually know we're using the base game version of the track for now, because the RH version, the AI like to send it a little bit too hard through the last corner, and as such they clip the inside wall and just rip the car in half basically through the last corner when trying to make an overtake, which is less than ideal when pretty much everyone's doing it. Speaking of overtakes, we're looking at a possible overtaking move here for Felipe Massa on Ricardo Sperafico. Looking towards the inside of the Toyota driver, there's contact between the two of them. Massa gets a little bit loose, that could open the door for Wirtz to try and get through. Doesn't seem so for now, as Jacques Villeneuve still behind Dan Weldon for now. Can't find his way through. Giorgio Pantano into the box from the race lead. That's going to give back first position to Jarno Trulli's Ferrari. We'll see if Pantano has actually done enough to jump David Coulthard in the pits. He had some extraordinary pace on the latter stage of the first stint, and I think he carried on that pace so much so that I think he's actually going to jump David Coulthard in that battle for second place. Out of the pits comes the Renault driver, and I think he has done it. Yep, there's Coulthard, a couple seconds behind. Pantano's done a great job there of rejoining in second position. There has been a good few overtakes, to be fair. It's not like it's been completely radio silent. I feel like we've had more overtakes than we usually do around this circuit on F1 Challenge. Mainly because the AI are sending it a little bit harder and for some reason seem to be crashing into each other, which, I'm not complaining, makes for a much more entertaining race to watch. Yeah, Michael Schumacher though really struggling to get past Justin Wilson at this point, strangely enough. Despite the pace advantage that he could possess, I don't think he's got much in the locker in terms of actually moving up any more places. Maybe he's on a heavy fuel load because he might have been on a one-stop strategy but pitted early because of the damage, and as such he's on like 45 laps worth of fuel. Could be a possibility. Co-commentator check? I don't know.
I am here. I'm just letting you speak. I have nothing to add to your statements.
Fair enough. The first few laps, though, to be fair, Nils, were very interesting. Like, it was just kicking off left, right, and centre. So, we have only had one mechanical retirement so far, as Dan Weldon enters the pits for the first time on the end of lap 19. Yeah, Cristiano Di Matta's gearbox failure was the only mechanical retirement that we've seen, as Mark Webber stalled on the grid on his home race. So, will I be adding Sochi if I get that far? I don't even know where I'd even get a Sochi
Justin
mod from.
Wilson is running 11th.
But
Either
Right in front
VB
of
or
you.
just
to be fair,
Looks
if it's
good.
if like for example, if I get a version that works and like the AI is good at overtaking, then I wouldn't see why not. For example, you know what I mean? So we see Dan Weldon re-emerge in 10th place, crucially for him, ahead of the cork in the bottle that is Justin Wilson. So Dan Weldon's actually jumped both McLarens in that scenario, which is not where I expected to see McLaren, to be completely honest. Ralf Schumacher has overtaken Nicholas Manassian by quite a long way there. I want to see what actually happened there. Yeah, so there was a previous battle between Ralf Schumacher and Nicholas Manassian. Towards the inside for Ralf Schumacher. Contact. I feel like Manassian kind of cut across Schumacher a little bit there. Schumacher's through up into 50th place. Battles ahead have become a little bit static, although saying that, David Coulthard closing in the gap for ahead of, with Giorgio Pantano just ahead. Gap was about 2 seconds when they both exited the pits. The gap is now just 5 or 6 tenths. Yeah, Ralf Schumacher, dare I say, I was about to say, dare I say, has made a bad mistake. Where is... Oh!
Oh, what is happening?
A huge crash!
Oh,
Wait, is that Trulli? It's
might
Trulli! Race leader Trulli is out! Unbelievable scenes!
Has retired in sector 3.
That's
What was
Takuma
Pedro de la
Sato,
Rosa doing?
and Jarno Trulli is out! Right, let's see what happened with Takuma Sato. Oh! So he's tried getting past Manasseh and made a complete hash of it and destroyed the left-hand side of his car. Jarno Trulli completely unaware of the scenario, and he's driven straight into the back of Sato. Unbelievable scenes here at the Australian Grand Prix. And this is going to be devastation for all the Ferrari fans. Oh, Trulli, what are you doing? Surely you would have seen the yellow flags, maybe not. But either way, Jarno Trulli is out, and I think Pedro de la Rosa has also just lost his front wing in that as well.
Yeah, he checked up on Trulli to see if he's still alive, and in the process lost his front wing.
Justin Wilson is running 11th.
So
Well,
now Giorgio
it's
Pantano
heavy
takes the
hits.
lead of the race with Coulthard in tow.
Well, it was quite a heavy hit from Trulli there. I think that he certainly will have to visit the medical center.
Yeah, hopefully, but the pair of them are all right. But I imagine it wouldn't be too much to more than shake them up a little bit.
Yeah, in this safety-orientated era of Formula One, I think such a hit won't turn someone into a amputee or anything anymore.
No, definitely not.
No,
And
but
there
that's
goes Coulthard! Coulthard's got past Pantano down the main straight, and Coulthard leads! Unbelievable! We were just talking randomly, and through the traffic, here comes Pantano again! The battling between the lap cars, and Giorgio Pantano retakes the lead. The Brabham's gone up the inside of David Coulthard as well. Strange scenes here in Australia, as the two leaders have just swapped positions in a matter of just 2 straights. Antonio Pizzonia's fighting David Coulthard right now, and the BAR man is going to be absolutely furious with the Brazilian with his battling right now. I'm not exactly sure why he's doing it, but either way, the gap that was, well, Coulthard was ahead, and now Coulthard, less than half a lap later, is 3.5 seconds off the lead of the race.
Justin Wilson is running 10th. Is right in front of you. You're running 11th.
But yeah, as Chris is already saying, the winning streak for Ferrari at Australia has broken now.
Who knows, maybe
Ferrari
Barrichello
won.
Well, obviously, with that's going to put a massive damper on it, but with Ferrari now putting their faith in Rubens Barrichello, just 8 seconds off the lead now. What were you saying about
So
Ferrari
this
streak?
time-
Sorry.
Oh yeah, so in 2002, Fisichella won the Australian Grand Prix with his Ferrari, and in 2003, it was Stroll who won it. So now it could definitely be Rubens Barrichello winning it if he somehow makes up 8 seconds to Pantano and Coulthard. But now we just have to hope that his Ferrari also keeps itself together.
Villeneuve into the box for the first time in this race. And he will re-emerge maybe just ahead of Dan Weldon. Dan Weldon's actually quite far down the order. So Villeneuve is going to get the jump on Weldon through the pit phase and rejoins in the final points paying position. So your top 8 currently is Giorgio Pantano leads, David Coulthard second, Rubens Barrichello is in third with Montoya fourth, Sperrifico under pressure from Massa and Wirtz in the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th, with Jacques Villeneuve completing the points. I purposefully left a gap there between saying the 2 previous positions. I'm definitely going to have to watch the stream back and look at how much damage was done to each of the teams, because if you haven't checked it out, we've got a Discord for all of this information in the server. Never mind, I've gotten rid of the link. Amazing. I'll get a link soon. And yeah, with how in-depth this is, you get like damage costs and stuff like that, and that's going to be a huge damage bill for both Ferrari and Honda. We'll see if David Coulthard can once again reel in that gap to Giorgio Pantano for the race lead. As Wirtz has actually just overtaken Massa, reason being Massa in the pits from 6th position.
Looking at the timing sheets, Rubens Barrichello is losing a heaps amount of time to Pantano and Coulthard. He lost around 3 seconds ever since he started the lap. I don't know if it's fuel loads or anything, but that doesn't seem correct.
You're running 10.
Dan Weldon nearly getting overtaken there by Justin Wilson in towards turn 1. Meanwhile, Rubens Barrichello, he's dealing with traffic, you see, so he's getting held up quite considerably behind. That'll be Trellier and Pitsonia in the battle for 17th. Wirtz keeping Sperrifico on a watching brief. This has been a great race, great opening race for Toyota, and especially Riccardo Sperrifico. Obviously a driver who hasn't even started a race in his Formula 1 career. This is his first ever Grand Prix start.
Rose Motorsport.
Already in the pits.
Which drivers are debutants in this season? Complete debutants, the only 2 are Tiago Monteiro and Joel Baumgartner, who haven't competed in any form of competitive session in
Dan Weldon.
their careers so far. Timo Glock has never started a Formula 1 race, as he never qualified for a single Grand Prix. There's the link for the Discord server. So this was Timo Glock's first ever race start. Another debutant was Riccardo Sperrifico, who was at Prost last season before that team went belly up a couple rounds into the season. Michael Schumacher is currently struggling to now get past Dan Weldon who has fallen into the clutches of both the McLarens. We'll see if the German can find his way through, but at the moment he is really struggling to find his way in this Grand Prix, struggling to get past Justin Wilson for a number of laps, and has now struggling to get past Dan Weldon in the battle for 8th. Saying that, I might have a good run here towards turn 13. He's going to look towards the inside. And will he make the move? There's contact between the two of them. Schumacher getting a little bit loose there. He might actually miss out to his teammate Kimi Raikkonen, although he backs off. Riccardo Speraffico now into the box for his first pit stop of his Formula 1 career. Should have Mexico from the modern era. See the mods from whichever Mexico before that you want.
Dan Weldon.
Yeah. There is a bit of a problem with that though, with at least the modern Mexico City is very heavy on the mod, as there goes Felipe Massa up the inside of Jenson Button in the battle for 10th. Button is a bit of a sitting duck in a straight line in this Jaguar, it has to be said. That underpowered Ford engine not doing him any favours whatsoever, and as such he's going to be quite frustrated just one race into the new season, as there's Trellier.
Oh, Trellier!
Trellier.
What is happening
What on
there?
earth
We
has
need to
just
know.
happened there with Benoit Trellier? We'll get a replay of that. I saw him falling down the order, and maybe an incident involving Antonio Pizzonia. If it is, then that's more trouble for Pizzonia. We'll get it on board with Pizzonia. Up the inside for Pizzonia. It's just a half-hearted lunge again from Pizzonia. That's his second piece of contact that is made with another car in this race. And Benoit Trellier is going to need an unscheduled pit stop in this Grand Prix.
We hope that this isn't not going to become a common occurrence for Pizzonia, because if it does, then a certain dark-colored flag might have to be shown to him.
Maybe so.
On the other hand, the Rose Motorsport team and the Opel F1 team certainly aren't having the best races of their
Oh, Weldon's off.
race so far.
Weldon's
Well,
off down
Weldon
at
is
10:13. He's lost out to both McLarens, fortunately for those two, as we'll get a replay of what just happened there. Watch on board with Michael Schumacher. Is it in the same vein as what's just happened previously?
probably.
Schumacher's there.
Yeah.
I don't... Yeah, I think Schumacher's gone for a bit of a late lunge there. And I think Schumacher might have to pay the price for that one. So, penalties are plenty in this Grand Prix, as Antonio Pizzonia has been given a 5-second time penalty for his collision with Benoit Trellier. Michael Schumacher also a 5-second penalty for that collision, just as you saw with Dan Weldon. So now Antonio Pizzonia on a total of 15 seconds worth of penalties. Not a good race for Brabham whatsoever, especially with the two making contact and basically destroying each other's races. It's quite the contrast, Scissors, to what we saw last season with Jaguar, as both their drivers, Giorgio Pantano and Jenson Button, both got race wins in 2003. Giorgio Pantano getting his first ever Grand Prix win at the San Marino Grand Prix, and Jenson Button getting his first ever race win at his home Grand Prix in Silverstone.
As Chris mentions it right now, Pantano is losing a lot of time to Coulthard.
Most certainly is, and there isn't any lap traffic involved. This is just sheer pace from David Coulthard right now. Don't know if he's on a 3-stop versus Pantano on a 2-stop, but either way, Coulthard is putting Pantano under a lot of pressure for the race lead. Points are to the top 8, so it's as it was in real life, where first place gets 10 points, second place 8, third place 6, fourth 5, fifth with 4, sixth with 3, seventh with 2, and 8th place with 1. Yeah, David Coulthard could be on a 3-stop. If he is, then he's surely going to be boxing pretty shortly as we now head on to lap 29, midway point of this season opening Australian Grand Prix. And I've got to say, it's been, for F1 Challenge standards, it's been a very good race, I'd say. Very, very crazy, topsy-turvy one so far, as Sperifico has just been overtaken there by Ralph Furman for 13th place. The two Dams Lola drivers have been inseparable in this first half of the Grand Prix. Maybe now for Ralph Furman, he can start to pull away from his French teammate.
Seeing that the BAR, Audi, and the Renault are now fighting for the win, this could be Renault's first win since last year's Malaysian Grand Prix, or BAR's first win since Monaco of 2001, courtesy of Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah, and it'd be an amazing story if BAR and Audi on their first outing as partners could take a race win. Obviously a podium would also be brilliant for the team, but well, the race lead is 3 tenths away. Why not shoot for the stars if you are a BAR fan or work for BAR? Including David Coulthard is really going for it right now as we now close in on a bit of lap traffic.
Well, Coulthard certainly needs a lucky strike to get past this Renault of the Italian.
That is a joke of all time, and he might get that lucky strike now. He's getting hauled up behind the Dams Lola of Nicolas Minassi, and can he find his way through? I think Giorgio Pantano has just been let off the hook there a little bit. Rubens Barrichello into the box for, I believe, the first time in this race. I will get a confirmation on that. Pit stops. Yeah, that's his first stop of the race. We are yet to see Montoya, Wirtz, or Button into the pits as Pittonia boxes for the second time in this Grand Prix. Yeah, this is where Coulthard has been losing a lot of his time in lap traffic. Pantano's just been able to ease through it all, and for some reason Coulthard has just been struggling that little bit more with it all.
BAR are ready in the pits. Villeneuve is running fifth.
Now the gap between the two at the front has now re-emerged to be 3 seconds. Alexander Wirtz exits the pit lane in 8th place or 9th place, maybe even 10th. As where is Massa just coming across the start line now? It'll be 9th place as he emerges behind Dan Weldon. Could be a race between these two for that final points position as Dan Weldon looks for his first points in Formula 1. His teammate meanwhile into the box. Into the box for David Coulthard. A second stop on lap 31, almost certainly a 3-stop strategy for the Scotsman. 8.3 second stop for David Coulthard as Juan Pablo Montoya now exits the final corner, and there in the distance is David Coulthard re-emerging in 2nd place in the BAR. So this could be a great day for a good result for BAR, a good start to their season as Audi pairs them for the first time. The gap between Coulthard and... Sorry, go on.
Well, I am
Dams Lola.
uncertain if this 3-stop strategy of BAR will help them win the race. If it doesn't, it will at least give them in the podium, which is a great start to this, as you said, new partnership.
As here we go
As we see
now,
Michael
possible
Schumacher.
battle. Yeah, a possible battle between Villeneuve and Schumacher. Who would have thought this after 1997? Certainly not anyone watching the latter stages of 2003, that's for certain. Villeneuve versus Schumacher for 5th place.
As there almost is a slight bit of contact. Well, we see that Michael is permanently having Kimi in his toe. So this could either be a blessing or a
Hindrance.
I don't know what for a hindrance, sure, for the 5-time world champion.
Hopefully no scares for the Italian until the end. Well, who knows? Still 26 laps to go in this race, and we know that the Renault has been struggling a little bit with its reliability. As there goes Manassian trying to get past Sperrifico. A bit of contact and a half spin there from the Frenchman. He'll try again, though, probably within a lap, considering how much quicker he is than the Toyota in these current stages of the race. Up the inside at turn 6 even. Can't even wait more than 3 corners before going for another move. Manassian not quite making his way up into 12th place. Verts, though, dispatched of by Massa in the battle for 9th place. Certainly not where Williams want to be in their battle. As here comes Jenson Button now. I believe he's coming into the pits at the end of this lap, but he nearly had a run there on Alexander Verts.
Villeneuve is running 5th. Is right in front of you. You're running 6th.
What Sperrifico to step on a Lego.
Maybe with enough slipstream, the damage driver could overtake Sperrifico.
But
Seems
unfortunately,
like
oh, he's gone for the move.
oh,
That was so close. It seems that the main problem, though, for the Dams Lola team is that Cosworth engine. Underpowered compared to the other teams, as there's again contact between the two of them, and Sperrifico's nearly been spun round, and Manassian's gone through. Sperrifico,
that is really a way to...
Yeah, Sperrifico claimed that he got spun round and he deserved the position back or a penalty given to Manassian. The Dams Lola crew will deny such claims, and it'll be up to the stewards to decide whether that is worth a penalty. Here is Verts getting lapped by Giorgio Pantano on lap 33. Certainly not where the 2001 Drivers' Champion is wanting to be. What happened with Prost? They just ran out of money midway through 2003 and folded by Spain, I believe it was.
Yeah, they turned up for... did they even turn up for pre-qualifying? I think they just whiffed through, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they just withdrew the whole weekend. Same reason as IRL? Yeah, basically, they just ran out of money.
More or less. Yeah.
Barrichello in a bit of a no man's land right now. He's 53 seconds off the lead, so that thought of him possibly trying to date victory for today, I think is going to require a bit of a force majeure from all of the top 3 in front of him for him to have any chance at victory today. Schumacher, though, still trying to get past Villeneuve. The Canadian putting up a great solid effort in keeping the German behind. Yeah, I imagine that while Pantano's got the lighter fuel load on Coulthard, he's able to quite easily pull away in the much superior Renault compared to the BLR. Well, much superior could be could be a bit of a contentious one. I actually want to just look at Schumacher's front wing for a second. It looks massively bent up on the left side. I think it is actually. Yeah, if you look there, massively bent up. Maybe that could be affecting the Germans' performance, especially in dirty air. The front end grip and the downforce could be really hindered with that form of contact that he got with, I think he ran into the back of Fernando Alonso when he spun around Kimi Raikkonen towards the start of the race.
Considering how slow his brother is, maybe his brother is more bent up than he is, as we see Michael almost making another move on the Toyota of Jacques Villeneuve.
Schumacher's got to be really careful here of his teammate not overtaking him, though. If he wants any chance of, well, trying to beat his teammate, it could be difficult to actually get the move done back once again. And Schumacher again trying to get a move done, but without the slipstream, he's no use in against the Toyota ahead of him.
Is there a possibility that the Mercedes engine is worse than the Toyota engine?
I'm not exactly sure. There are statistics of it, but I don't have those in front of me right now. Schumacher again looking for a move into turn 6, can't find a way through. Manassian into the box as Furman gets past Button, and the battle of the Cosworths for P14.
I think Michael is starting to get frustrated behind the Canadian. He will just keep on diving into him until one is hurt. That is not the best strategy, but it's certainly one that will catapult him in front of the other.
There's not much to say here, apart from the fact that Villeneuve has just got the measure on the McLarens down the straight. Although that's an interesting radio call. Villeneuve running out of fuel, so maybe this could be the chance that Michael Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen have been waiting for, trying to get the overcut on the Toyota and claiming some good points despite being at the back of the field for McLaren in this race. Villeneuve has won a race since 1997. 1998, he won the Monaco Grand Prix in quite dramatic fashion, where he overtook Damon Hill on the penultimate lap, I believe it was, to take his only, and Mechachrome's, I think that was Mechachrome's only victory in Formula 1 so far as an engine supplier. But since Monaco 98, he has not won a race. Schumacher will crash into Villeneuve. Well, I think that'll have to wait for now, as Villeneuve pits, unleashing the pace, hopefully, of the two McLarens into 5th and 6th position. 7th place for Villeneuve. We'll see how he emerges in comparison to the BAR of Dan Weldon. This could possibly be the last stop of the race, though, for Jacques Villeneuve. No, we can talk about Martin Brundle in 1998 if you want. Yeah, sure. If you really want to.
That was something.
Martin Brundle stepped in for Mika Hakkinen at McLaren. Following an injury
he was just called up by Ron Dennis. It's like, yo, one of our drivers is like injured. Do you like want to come back or anything? And it's like, yeah, sure. So, going from the commentator's booth, he went into the race seat and I think scored at least one podium.
He scored 3 second places in a row.
Yeah, that 98 season was certainly a season that happened, with Fisichella also winning the San Marino Grand Prix, but that is probably not as interesting as
I think the biggest story of that 98 San Marino Grand Prix is when Pedro Diniz was the driver in 2nd place. He held off Heinz-Harald Frenzen's Williams in those dying laps to take a famous podium for Arrows. That ended up being his only points of the season for the Brazilian. He has since retired.
Yeah, another person that has retired in this race, Jarno Trulli, won the 1998 European Grand Prix in a Prost. That was a spectacle.
20 laps to go for race leader Giorgio Pantano. Has a 31 second gap, we'll call it, lead over the rest of the field. Montoya's just emerged out of his pit box though, with Rubens Barrichello looming large in the mirrors. I believe both of these are now going to the end, so the battle for the podium, Montoya versus Barrichello. Schumacher soon to box as Justin Wilson dispatches of Jenson Button, not for the first time in this Grand Prix. Hello Ripio, welcome in. Hope your day is going well. Definitely didn't talk to you earlier. I'm acting as if I've, not talked to you earlier. It's up the inside for Barrichello, nearly getting a move done there on Juan Pablo Montoya, but can't find his way through.
Renault are ready in the pits.
Giorgio Pantano into the box at the end of this lap.
Are ready in the pits. Pit crew ready. Barrichello is running fourth, about 5 seconds ahead. You're running fifth.
And Giorgio Pantano has got time to spare in the pit lane. 33 seconds was the gap that he pulled out ahead of David Coulthard. And he's got a great chance of taking victory and taking the championship lead for the first time in his Formula 1 career. Dan Weldon also into the box from 7th position. That elevates Massa up into the top 7. He's had a fairly quiet race on the Red Bull, in the Red Bull Sauber, but he's proving quite well right now as Pantano emerges out of the pits. What were I trying out on AMS2? I actually compete in a AMS2 league, the AMS2 Kart League, hosted by, I assume that some of you would know, Jacob Clark, also known as Wargiven. He does a kart league every couple of weeks or so.
So if you're a massive masochist and you like IMS2, I think that is the perfect league for you.
Into the pits comes both McLarens. They won't double stack again, they did this before. I imagine that they were both on a full fuel load there. So into the pits comes the pair of McLarens rather than just one of them. And you can see there are two pairs or two sets of McLaren mechanics. So we'll see who gets the jump on each other, I suppose. Yeah, 9.5 second lead for Giorgio Pantano. I imagine he'll hold it. Almost identical stops there for Schumacher and Raikkonen as Massa pits. These two drivers keep their positions in 5th and 6th. Doing a good job there of jumping Villeneuve by quite a margin, it has to be said. .2 second stop there for Massa. He's going to shuffle him out the points, but he might be able to stay ahead of Dan Weldon. If that's the case, then the Brit is going to be quite disappointed with his race, as he's proved to be quite promising in this Grand Prix, but little has come of it so far. It seems to be the case. He's rejoined directly ahead of his teammate, in fact, David Coulthard, who is currently in 2nd place and attempting to try and at least chase down Giorgio Pantano for the race win.
Maybe the Brit is not fit enough yet for these cars, so we can certainly see a improvement in his pace over the course of the season.
I imagine that the boss at BAR Audi has been quite pleased, though, with Dan Weldon's performance so far in pre-season testing and in the Australian Grand Prix weekend. Despite the fact he's not scoring any points, I feel like he's been fairly close-ish to David Coulthard. I feel like Coulthard has had a day of days in that BAR, and he's going to be very happy with the podium, I imagine. Montoya still trying to hold off Rubens Barrichello. A bit more difficult though with a Rose Toyota in the way. I believe that's of Justin Wilson. As round goes Justin Wilson, almost blocking Rubens Barrichello there.
That is certainly not optimal.
Let's see what happened there. On board with Rubens Barrichello. So Montoya gets through on Justin Wilson, and Barrichello kind of just makes a clumsy mistake. Wilson kind of just drives onto the racing line. It's a bit of a clumsy one, I think, between the pair of them. I don't know if the stewards are going to think of it anything that as more than just a racing incident. But yeah, a very weird one, and it's lost Justin Wilson a position to Jenson Button.
Speaking about good performances earlier with Dan Weldon, which driver so far has impressed you the most?
I'd say David Coulthard has done a brilliant job so far in this race. I'd say he's, for me, my standout driver of the race. Giorgio Pantano as well, obviously. He's been quite measured in his driving up to this point, picking his way through the chaos early on. Montoya, yeah, just anyone really on the podium. Montoya, it seems that Williams is lagging a bit in terms of overall pace, and yeah, if Montoya gets a podium, I think Williams have a lot to go home happy about, to be completely honest.
Even if the Walrus knows, doesn't make much of a difference. Yeah, them just keeping, or Montoya keeping it on the road and being there where he has to be certainly is enough for a podium.
About 25 seconds ahead. You're running 5th.
Yes, a number of subscribers do indeed own and run the teams. Most of the custom ones that you see are indeed run by people that are in my Discord server. .7 stop there for David Coulthard. Is going to see him re-emerge in second position. If you want to join the Discord, make sure, think about joining essentially. And if you have enjoyed the race so far and enjoyed the stream, make sure to give the stream a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. As we head into the closing stages, I think the main takeaway from this has got to be the reliability of the cars, as even the worries, even up until qualifying, was quite considerable that these cars would struggle to finish races. And right now, the only car that has come under stress from mechanical fault is Cristiano Di Matta's Jaguar, who had a gearbox failure fairly early on in the Grand Prix. Sperifico doing well to hold on to 11th place ahead of Ralph Furman with 15 laps to go for race leader Giorgio Pantano. Even after Wilson's spin, he has overtaken Jenson Button now, and Button's now just been relegated to 16th place. Top speed comparison for the race. And it is Pedro de la Rosa fastest in the speed traps, down in 18th place. Seems that that car is struggling a little bit on the downforce side.
You're running 5th.
Rose Motorsport.
Already in the pits.
I think one of their drivers will also be into the box shortly. Here comes Ralph Schumacher now, possibly looking for a move on Ralph Furman. Can't quite find a way through. Can the reigning champion? He would have been hoping to at least score some points in this first round, but it's not even looking likely at all that he will do such a thing. I will return in a minute or two, as I'll leave you with Benjamin.
Yes, Benfica is now boxing.
Grab 'em.
Pitting.
Already in the pits.
Um,
There's a spin
Brabham
in
seem
sector 3.
to
Watch for the yellow flag.
also be pitting their car now, as the Rose Motorsport is now exiting the pits. How many laps are left? In the top left corner, you can see it's roughly 12 to 13 laps left.
You're running 5th.
I am back.
No, I don't think that Prost will be able to return to the sport unless they find
Dams Lola.
a
Already in the pits.
massive amount of backing.
Antonio Pizzoni re-emerging in 18th position. It's been a fairly anonymous race for the Brabham team. Despite the promise shown by Pizzoni in qualifying, it's been a fairly awful race from the Brazilian.
There's a spin in sector 3. Watch for the yellow flags.
Bert's currently chasing down Jack Villeneuve in the battle for 7th place. The 01 champion looking to try and get past the 97 champion as the two of them begin to go into battle. But it could be a scenario where, as like McLaren, the Williams could struggle to get past the Toyota, as that Japanese car looks pretty fast in a straight line, it has to be said.
Barrichello is running 4th. About 15 seconds ahead. You're running 5th.
Bert's with a great run out that final corner. But like I said, look at the straight line speed advantage that the Toyota has over the Williams, and Wirtz is able to do absolutely nothing about it and remains in 8th place for now. I think he's going to need some form of mistake from the Canadian to manage to get past and move up to 7th place. With his teammate up in 3rd as well, this has been a pretty disappointing race for Alex Wirtz.
This is quite surprising. In the previous years, BMW had a massive engine or massive horsepower output. So to see that even the Williams BMW is struggling to get past the Toyota is certainly a assessment of how much Toyota has been developing their engine now.
Big position gains all around, up and down the grid, as the one who's gained the most is Justin Wilson. Is up 12 places from 25th on the grid. He's now up in 13th place and currently having in combat with the Jaguar of Jenson Button.
You're running 5th.
Also coincidentally, the oldest tyres on the grid remain on the same car that has gained the most places in the field. Pantano really stretching his legs out at the front now. Gap is now 37 seconds to the BAR of David Coulthard in 2nd. Montoya nearly a full minute behind, albeit just a number of seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello. The Colombians really started to pull out. Oh! That's Massa! Massa from 9th place. A great chance at points for the Brazilian has gone begging. And we've seen our second mechanical retirement of the season. Felipe Massa out of the race.
Is out. He's blown the engine.
And as Massa said, all of our engines keep blowing up. That's the first time that we've seen a Lamborghini engine failure. So maybe it could be that in private testing at least, the Red Bull has been struggling for reliability. Maybe from Felipe, a bit of
Ralph
a
Furman
bit of
is stuck
annoyance.
in first gear.
And now all of a sudden we're
Oh.
getting mechanical retirements left and right. Ralph Furman out of the race as well.
About 10 seconds ahead.
Well, when it rains, it pours. There might be even more retirements coming in over the next few laps. I wouldn't be surprised if Barrichello also now has suddenly it's breaking. Will be breaking down suddenly.
So two drivers that were flirting with the top 10 have now retired
What?
from the race. He tries to move out the way of Giorgio Banzo. A bit of miscommunication between the two. Nearly met the demise of the Italian there.
That would have been a sight to see.
It really would have. As now Jenson Button trying to find his way past Justin Wilson. A lot of cars starting to drop out at the end of this race. There's there Dan Weldon getting lapped by his teammate David Coulthard and letting him through without much problem. We actually had good reliability. Well, to be fair, only 3 mechanical retirements is still a good rate of reliability in my eyes, for 2004 standards at least. This is where someone else retires. You know, like Jacques Villeneuve has lost his front wing. He's had a brake failure.
Barrichello is running fourth.
Guess
about
not.
10 seconds
Okay.
ahead. You're running fifth.
There's Barrichello putting a lap on Riccardo Sperafico, another driver who's had a decent race, although he has fallen out of the points. Quite a shame for the Brazilian. It's taken quite a while, obviously, for Furman to get back into the pits as he's stuck in a low gear. What is next on the calendar? It'll be the Malaysian Grand Prix on the Sepang International Circuit, and that stream will be sometime, I believe, Saturday next week at the same time, 6 PM GMT. So if you want to stick around to see the second round of this 2004 season, be sure to subscribe and keep your notifications on. So Furman into the box to retire. We have now seen 9 retirements. I'm too used to 24 car grids. We've had 9 retirements from this season opening Australian Grand Prix.
Barrichello is running fourth. About 10 seconds ahead.
McLaren will certainly hope for a better race next time around. This certainly was hopefully was a one-off bad strategy and communication race for them.
Most definitely. As how would a sub go about buying a team? There's currently no openings for teams, unfortunately, in any of the series that we do. Speaking of, the Super Truck World Challenge is the next stream on the what's the word? Next up on the schedule. There we go. That should be on Tuesday, and that will be followed up by the opening round of the inaugural GP2 race in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The Super Truck race, by the way, is in Cordoba, Argentina. I need to get a bit of work done on that track though, as the AIW in the pit lane is a little bit wonky. But well, as of right now, Chris, it's looking like that it is holding up together well. 51 laps in, and just 7 to go for Giorgio Pantano for him to take his second victory in Formula 1 and his first win for Renault, and on debut no less for the team, as he now comes up to a string of lap cars.
Talking about that, talking about the entry of new teams, there are rumors going around of a Bosnian investor trying to buy out Minardi, but I think those things are not coming through.
GP2 will be streamed on here on YouTube. The F3 Euro Series, however, will be a Discord only stream, so if you want to check those out, be sure to join my server, where I'll be streaming that when when it comes around on the schedule, basically. The reason being is that it takes a lot of effort to actually get it to set up correctly, and it could take absolutely ages to get done, and I don't want to be around here on YouTube wasting people's time, essentially. So that is why that is a Discord only thing. So if you're interested in F3 Euro Series, be sure to check out the Discord. Point system is exactly what you've just said. Jos the Boss, nice name. As 6 laps to go now, Pantano holds nearly a 40-second lead ahead of David Coulthard. It's looking fairly comfortable for him to just cruise to the end of this Grand Prix and take a Drivers' Championship lead for the first time in his Formula 1 career. Jacques Villeneuve still holding off Alexander Wirtz in the battle for 7th place. Unfortunately, I feel like this is just going to play out the exact same way every single lap, despite Wirtz being considerably quicker than Jacques Villeneuve in this last stint. I don't think he's able to do so due to the straight line speed of that Toyota being much higher compared to the Williams. Hello Dylan. I'm not exactly sure when the next episode will be. It will definitely return. I will not abandon the series, as I have in my mind I have a good story idea that I want to implement into it. So that is certainly something that I do want to return to at some point, just not right now. Hello Almin as well, welcome in. Kimi Raikkonen getting held up a little bit there by lap traffic. That's Nicholas Manassian just ahead of him, and as such I think the chance of Raikkonen passing Michael Schumacher before the end of the race is pretty much a bust on that front. Montoya though has been pulling away from Barrichello by a couple of tenths each lap, slowly but steadily has been putting himself in a more and more comfortable position to take his and Williams' first podium of the season. It's been a fairly measured drive from the Colombian, while his teammate has not really done that well at all. He's down in 8th place and the best part of a lap down on him. So maybe it's the change of the guard down at Williams, with Montoya now becoming possibly the #1 driver in the future. Who knows? Oh, that's a battle actually. Sparrofico versus Nicholas Manassi. We'll see how fast in a straight line Jacques Villeneuve's Toyota is in a straight line. We'll see if Ricardo Sparrofico's holds the same sort of status in a straight line. On board now with Nicholas Manassian, and even in the slipstream you can see Speraficos is pulling away from Manassi, and there's absolutely nothing that the Frenchman can do in forms of an overtake. And as such, I think that battle will just die along with the chance of either of them wanting to get any points. You've enjoyed this? That's good. If other people have enjoyed it, make sure to like.
Subscribe and hit the bell.
Yep. Overtaken the damn Sperafico like 4 times already. 3.5 laps to go now for Giorgio Pantano, and it's looking more and more likely that he will take victory here today. Never say never though, in Formula 1 you could always have some form of mechanical fault with just over around 5 minutes remaining on the clock in terms of there's an opening. How would it go? So I open up team sign-ups and then I would pick out the one that I think is most suitable for the career.
Barrichello is running 4th. Less than 3 seconds.
Well,
ahead.
this only shows the prowess of Sperafico's defending. He certainly picked that up from GP2.
Again, Sperafico is not someone who has driven in GP2, as GP2 is a brand new series for this season. He drove an F3000, which is the equivalent of GP2.
Yes.
Where he finished third, second, somewhere. Second or third in 2002 in F3000. Can't remember.
Yes, yes.
Hello, Mike. Welcome in. Let's go, De La Rosa. He's down his 16th, but he's still in the race at least. Going to pick up his second finish ever for Opel. We haven't actually been looking at it, but Michael Schumacher has caught Rubens Barrichello in the battle for 4th place. It's completely gone under the radar, but with 3 laps to go, Michael Schumacher is really starting to put the pressure on Rubens Barrichello for 4th. Maybe the world 5-time world champion can try and make his way through, but time is not of the essence. Or time is of the essence for Michael Schumacher. He's not got long to make this form of move on Barrichello, but we'll see if the German can make it happen. 2 laps to go for race leader Giorgio Pantano. He's just crossed the line to start lap 57, Mike, as Michael Schumacher really starting to hound Rubens Barrichello. No, a Prost team would not be on the cards, I don't think. Especially since they went bankrupt less than a year ago, so Michael Schumacher really close now to the back of Rubens Barrichello, and we'll see if the Brazilian can hold off the charging McLaren. Nearly side by side there as they head to turn 13, and Michael is all over the back of Rubens. Michael trying absolutely anything and everything to get through on Rubens Barrichello, on board now with the McLaren. 2 laps to go in this battle for 4th place. He's going to try and dive it up the inside from a long way back, but that's not going to work at all. What happened to Arrows? Arrows got bought out in late 2000 by Toyota. They ran Toyota engines in 2001, by which Nicholas Minassian and Alan McNish drove for the team. And Nicholas Minassian actually won in Portugal, the 4th round of that season. And then by 2002, Arrows became Toyota. Driver of the Day votes are out, and Giorgio Pantano wins the vote, 35% ahead of David Coulthard and Justin Wilson, Good job for him as well in the top 3. Michael Schumacher really wanting to try and get an extra point out of this. He's desperate to try and get past the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello, but his time is really running out at this point. I don't think Schumacher's going to be close enough to make a move into Tier 13. I don't think he's close enough at all. And I think Michael's going to have to settle for 5th place unless he makes a very brash move on this final lap. Now coming on to the final lap for those two. Meanwhile, Giorgio Pantano now entering the final sector for the final time. It has been all about Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen in the early stages of this race, but with that early race chaos, it's led the way for Giorgio Pantano to really hit home that he is a force to be reckoned with. Giorgio Pantano crosses the line to win the opening 2004 race here in Albert Park. He wins the Australian Grand Prix in dominant fashion, 40 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Let's keep an eye though on that battle for 4th place. See if Michael Schumacher can find any way through on Rubens Barrichello, looking towards the inside of turn 6, but can't find his way through whatsoever. Maybe in towards turn 9, he can look towards the inside. He's trying it again. There's nearly contact between the two of them. Barrichello doing all that he can to try and hold him off for now, but will he be able to is the real question. Barrichello doing all that he needs to do right now to try and hold off Michael Schumacher. Schumacher a little bit wide there on the grass as Coulthard finishes in 2nd place. Montoya should finish 3rd, and at this current rate, Barrichello should finish in 4th. Montoya finishes in 3rd, and it's a great podium for the Williams team. Barrichello, meanwhile, will round the final corner for the final time. He'll hold on to 4th place ahead of Michael Schumacher, and it'll be a solid start for Ferrari, despite the issues that Jarno Trulli ran into early on in the race. Kimi Raikkonen in 6th, with Villeneuve on his return in 7th, and Alex Wurz in 8th. But it is Giorgio Pantano that wins. If you enjoyed this 2004 season opener, make sure to like the stream and subscribe so you don't miss another stream in the future. Next stream is on Tuesday, same time, 6 PM GMT. Be sure to join me then for Super Truck Challenge Super Truck World Challenge Round 2. Yes, get my words out. That's going to be all from me in this stream, and that's going to be all from Benny.
Yo.
Yep. Alright, goodbye guys.
Yo.